Watch 41 News This Morning, weekdays at 6 a.m.
Here in the heartland, gone are the unseasonably warm temperatures of just a few days ago that suggested summer did not want to end. Today's 43-degree air is a crisp reminder that November is indeed right around the corner. It is also a perfect environment for today's game between Michigan and Iowa. This is football weather. Both teams are expecting an old-fashioned, hard-nosed Big Ten clash today here in Iowa City. Time now for our national anthem. Here's Kinnick Stadium Public Address announcer Lou Christ.
We invite you to remain standing and join us as we honor America with the playing and the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner. It will be conducted by Director of Bands, Dr. Myron Welch. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
Kickoff between Michigan and Iowa in just a moment, but first, back to Times Square Stadium to John Saunders and Terry Bauer.
Sean, thanks a lot. Michigan, of course, the only remaining unbeaten team in Big Ten play, but there were unbeaten teams around the nation still vying for a national championship, including Oklahoma and Nebraska, a game some of you may have just watched. There's a little trickery. Crouch hands it off to Collins, reverses it. Mike Stunts then throws 63 yards to Eric Crouch for the touchdown.
You know, the play calling, what was fabulous. Frank Solich, you're not going to get a team to the championship unless you can make a critical call like that. Throw back to the quarterback for the winning touchdown.
He said he set that up as the entire game, and it played out. Crouch, you see the numbers, just 102 yards passing, but boy, he was big, especially running off his goal line late in the game, late in that charge. Virginia Tech looks like they're about to fall from the ranks of the unbeaten. Syracuse, it is now a final, 22-14. And Penn State, there's less than 2 minutes to go. Joe Paterno needing that one victory to pass Bear Bryant for win number 324. Michigan and Iowa is coming up. Marquise Walker ready to fly. Stick around.
It's nearly Halloween in Iowa City, and the Hawkeye faithful have their best game faces on for a monster matchup with Michigan. The gang from Ann Arbor is back in the top 10 in their one slick outfit. The Wolverines' X-Man is Marquise Walker, a do-it-all wideout who's either trick or treat, and as elusive as a ghost. But last time out, it was Michigan's bone-crunching D that haunted Purdue. Meanwhile, the Hawkeyes no longer have to masquerade at the Big Ten party. They have the conference's top-rated passer and skill position talents who would scare any defensive coordinator. And now teams atop the standings are hearing footsteps. ABC Sports welcomes you to sold-out Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, Iowa. More than 70,000 fans on hand to watch the Hawkeyes play host to the number 8 team of the nation, the Wolverines of Michigan. The Wolverines are in control of the Big Ten race at the moment. They are the only unbeaten team in conference play, but Coach Lloyd Carr reminded his team this week that they're not even halfway through the conference schedule yet. Still 5 games remaining, 3 of them on the road, beginning today against an Iowa team that is much improved and fighting for position in the middle of the pack in the conference. Hi, everyone. Sean McDonough along with Ed Cunningham. Delighted to have you with us for the first meeting between these two teams since 1998. And a lot of people thought this was going to be a rebuilding year for Michigan, if there is such a thing with the Michigan football program. They lost 5 offensive starters to the first 43 picks in the most recent NFL draft, but they're rolling right along, led by Marquise Walker.
And Marquise Walker shared time, obviously, on the spotlight with David Terrell last year. And he was a guy that Stan Parrish, the offensive coordinator, knew had the talent to do it, but they didn't know how he would react being the guy. Well, as the guy, he has really flourished. He does so many different things, not only as a receiver, he can throw the ball, run it on reverses. He's now become their #1 punt returner, but when he's not returning punts, he's also very dangerous blocking kicks. He's blocked 2 punts in the last 2 years.
Iowa 4-2 overall, just 2 victories away from his first winning season since 1997, and they have a couple of big play threats.
Yeah, and Liddell Betts was a guy who was here when Kirk Ferentz got here. They knew he was a good back, more elusive than you think he is, stronger than you think he is, faster than you think he is. He finally had a breakout game last week against Indiana, had been a little dinged up going into that ball game. The entire offense hit a stride. 172 yards against Indiana was Bett's best game against a Big Ten opponent. He's a guy that this offense has to rely on. Career, he is #2 at Iowa. This offensive line doing a much better job. The big play guy for Iowa, though, is Khalil Hill, the senior wide receiver. Again, like Walker, can do everything. And what Lloyd Carr mentioned was the thing that scares him the most is him on punt returns.
Down on the sideline, here's Leslie Goodell.
Well, Sean, this is the biggest game for Iowa this season, and Kirk Ferentz, I think it's probably fair to say this is the biggest game you've had as a head coach here. How prepared are they?
I think our guys are ready to go. We got a great environment here. This is like old times, so hopefully it'll be a great game today.
You've got to be concerned about their speed. How do you contain them?
They're an outstanding football team, but we think we're not bad, too. So we're anxious to match up, and we're going to learn a lot about ourselves today.
Coach, good luck.
And he's anxious to get going on offense for the 24th straight game. Iowa will have the ball first as they won the toss and elected to receive. Hayden Epstein kicks off for Michigan, the veteran place kicker, senior from Cardiff, California. And we're underway on a beautiful day in Iowa City. C.J. Jones running it back for the Hawkeyes. Bounces off a couple of hits and spins out to the 23-yard line. Tackled by Courtney Morgan. Iowa on offense, led by Kyle McCann, the senior from Preston, Iowa. Completing 65% of his passes this season. They open with 2 tight ends and Liddell Betts the only back. And Betts right up the middle. And a quality gain of 4 on first down. The offensive line for Iowa has played every snap in each of the last 2 games for the Hawkeyes. Gallery, Steinbach, Nelson, Cunningham, and Porter giving them the best line play they've had in Coach Ferentz's 3 years here. That's their second all-time leading rusher with Allen the fullback, Oliver and Hill the wide receivers, and Dallas Clark, the former special teams standout, an emerging star at tight end. They expect to throw the ball to the tight end a lot today. They throw it to the back out of the backfield. Jeremy Allen the fullback. First down, fumbled it out of bounds. It got knocked out of his hands by Cato June, but went out of bounds near the 40-yard line on the far side. A first down for Iowa. The Michigan defense, Rumashek, their leader in sacks with 5. Hoyer, Lazarus, and Orr, but they'll rotate a lot of people up front. Outstanding linebackers with Larry Foote, one of the 12 semifinalists for the Butkus Award to the nation's best linebacker. Brackens and Hobson the others. And in the secondary, LeSueur, Drake, June, and Howard. Marlon Jackson, a true freshman, will see a lot of work at corner as well. That's outside with some running room. He's out near the 45-yard line. Marlon Jackson, the true freshman cornerback, made the tackle. Michigan giving up only 53 yards per game on the ground, 3rd best in the nation. Iowa likes to run it, and so far Iowa's running successfully yet.
And that 2 times in a row, the exact same motion by Dallas Clark. The tight end brought him over the first time. He ran a little screen so that they get the fullback in the flat. That time he comes over, gets a great seal block, and a big pickup on first down.
Kyle McCann coming off a fine performance last week in their win here over Indiana. Hands it off, and this time they're ready for Betts. A loss on the play of 3. Eric Brackens and Larry Foote, the linebackers, up to make the tackles. Generally for this Michigan defense, Ed, the defensive linemen just try to tie up the blockers, and it's those linebackers who run free and make a lot of stops.
What I noticed, Sean, that was really impressive about these linebackers, with those defensive linemen, they don't have to worry about a bunch of guys coming and cutting their legs out. Larry Foote and also 51, Eric Brackens, play really high on their toes, and they make a lot of tackles behind the line of scrimmage because of that.
Third down and 8. The lone back is Jeremy Allen with 2 tight ends into the game. A blitz off the corner. It's picked up. McCann has his man. First down, Iowa. Chris Oliver out of bounds in Michigan territory at the 46-yard line. Brandon Williams chased him out. Cato June came on a safety blitz, but it was well picked up in the backfield.
And a really, really nice job by the left guard, Eric Steinbach, coming out. Watch the left guard bounce out, pick up the blitzing safety, Sean, and perfect timing for McCann to be able to step up into the ball. This offensive line you mentioned has played together for 2 straight ball games. They have yet to give up a sack in those 2.
And Iowa's had 818 yards of total offense in its last 2 games. 10 Hawkeyes. Gets back in there. And he's stacked up for no gain. Driven back by Eric Brackens. The 5th-year senior selected a co-captain by his teammates. He's from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
And Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, talked to his defense all week to be ready for 7, 8, 9, 10-play drives. This is the first team that Michigan has played all year that will be very patient with their run game.
Now Jeremy Allen, the lone back. This is the 7th play of the opening possession. Wide receiver screen, Khalil Hill. Iowa likes that play. Ken O'Keefe, the offensive coordinator, will go to it regularly, and Michigan was ready for it. Sean Lazarus and Eric Brackens again in on the stop. Only a gain of 2. Another 3rd down and 8 coming up for Iowa.
This is what Ken O'Keefe has tried to do as the season's progressed, is get Khalil Hill involved more by moving him around in formations and motions. That time just got in a little too close into the middle of that defense.
Third down and a long 7. McCann danced out of the pocket, has to get rid of it. Does not, and is thrown for a sack by Larry Foote. Michigan's leading tackler, the senior from Detroit. He leads the nation with 14 tackles for a loss entering today's action. There's another. And Jim Herman's defense holds. The Hawkeyes, who've had punting problems, will punt from near midfield.
And because of that front 4, Jim Herman not having to blitz, he gets pressure just with the 4 up front. Had everybody covered downfield.
David Bradley, the redshirt freshman, averaging 36.5. Here's the punter. Punts to shorter field. Nate Kading, who's also the place kicker, will look a little deeper in their own territory. Bradley did not get a very good bounce. It's down near the 20-yard line by Derek Cagle. A 33-yard punt, no return, and will return to Iowa City after this. City. Renewed enthusiasm for the football program here in Iowa. On the way back up after a couple of lean years. And a big opportunity to tell the nation that Iowa football is back with a victory over powerful Michigan today. John Navarre, the quarterback. The sophomore, Wisconsin native, swings it out of the flat incomplete. Looking for B.J. Askew, their leading rusher, and second leading receiver, who will alternate at tailback and fullback. Navarre, a big, strong quarterback, 6'6", 236 pounds. In 12 career games, has thrown for nearly 2,000 yards. And the amazing ratio, 17 touchdown passes, only 3 interceptions. He has the lowest interception percentage in Michigan history. On the delay, Askew. For 2, he ran into Derek Pickens, the best defensive lineman for Iowa, the senior defensive tackle, number 92. The Michigan offensive line, they lost 4 starters from a year ago. Goodwin returns as a starter. Pate, Anderson, Petrozello, and Solomon the others. Solomon playing on an injured leg. Cross, Askew, Walker, Bellamy with Seymour, the tight end. As usual, Michigan with plenty of weapons, skill position people who can make big plays. A flag down. It's a screen set up for B.J. Askew. He's down short of a first down. Well, let's check out the flag. It appears he's about a half yard short of the first down. The referee is Steve Payman, in his 12th year as a college football official. The Hawkeyes were offside.
And if they are short of the first down, Michigan will take it. But you start to see where John Navarre, you talked about that interception ratio. He is so good at checkdowns, and they move the ball around so well. That's why Askew is so high on the receptions list. They use everybody, the tight end, the wide receivers. And Navarre very good at finding other people.
Offside defense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, third down.
The play had them just short of the first down, so Lloyd Carr elected to take the penalty. Take another crack at picking up the first down and third down and 3 now.
Now on 3rd and 3, you can do anything, Sean. A late delayed draw. You can run a slip screen to Marquise Walker lined up to the right of John Navarre. There's so many things you can do on 3rd and short.
3 wide receivers. Askew the lone back. They throw on 3rd and short, and it's a first down out to the 33-yard line. The tight end, Bill Seymour, the senior from Granger, Indiana. He's had at least 2 catches in every game this season. That's his 16th catch of the year. For Iowa defensively, Colin Cole, Derek Pickens, Jared Kloss, and Aaron Campman, the front 4. The linebackers are Steen, Meyer, and Barr. Barr's the second leading tackler on the team. Bob Sanders, the safety, had 25 tackles against Indiana last week, 4th highest total in school history. B.J. Askew ran into Aaron Campman at the 35-yard line.
You know, talking to Stan Parrish during the week, Sean, he brought up an interesting point about last year having all those guys we talked about going on to the NFL. And this year, sounds like he's having a little more fun with this offense, able to do some different things, trying to get the ball to different people. But this offensive line is way ahead of where they expected them to be, losing those 4 guys to the NFL.
More starters from a year ago playing in the NFL right now as offensive linemen, rookies. Askew tripped up by Mike Dolezal, the middle linebacker who alternates in the middle with Roger Meyer. And it'll be another 3rd down for Michigan. More than 6 minutes in, no score.
This is the type of game Iowa wants. They want Michigan to try to run it at them. Kirk Ferentz, their head coach, says we're playing a whole lot faster and athletic than we are, but we are very strong and scouting. You try to run at us, we like that. We can take that challenge.
Again, 3 wide receivers for Michigan on 3rd down, this time 3rd and 6. They converted on 3rd and 3 a moment ago. A corner blitz, they didn't get there. The pass knocked down, flag thrown. Benny Sapp reaching over the shoulder of Marquise Walker to knock it down. He thought he was there cleanly, but the officials did not agree.
Looked like his left arm, Sean, was draped behind. Got there just a click early. His right hand, top of your screen. Sapp makes a nice play on the ball, but it's that contact with his left hand. That was, he didn't alter the route, Sean. I have to agree with the fans here. That was a little touchy call.
Sophomore Sapp saw a lot of action. 8 starts as a true freshman last year. He's the cousin of Warren Sapp of the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And he's about as talkative as his cousin Warren Sapp. Last year, Benny Sapp was quoted as saying, "I have a great personality, and I like that about myself." Navarre hit as he throws, going deep. And this time, no flag thrown when Sapp appeared to make some contact with Ronald Bellamy. It was Jerry Montgomery who put the hit on Navarre as he threw it, and they're happy to have Montgomery back in that defensive front. He sat out last week's game against Indiana with an ankle injury.
Sean, that looked like more contact at the end of this play. Unless they're saying it's an uncatchable ball, Sapp looks like he spins him around. I don't know, you got to give Bellamy a chance to go that. That looked like he was doing more to alter Bellamy's path than the play before.
Perhaps Bellamy was just spinning himself around trying to pick up the ball. On the delay, Askew bounces out to the 45-yard line. Benny Sapp made the tackle. Another third down. They've converted 2 third downs in a row, have the Wolverines.
This is one thing this Iowa defense does very well. Both Norm Parker, the defensive coordinator for Iowa, and Stan Parrish on the other side for Michigan always talk about this team passing. You don't see a lot of guys bounce off somebody once the Iowa defender wraps them up.
Another third down, another 3 wide receivers set, and the pass hits the back of one defender and is picked off by another. It hit Matt Stockdale. It went to Bob Sanders. They're going to rule him down at the 50-yard line. His knee went down at the 50. Bob Sanders, the sophomore from Erie, Pennsylvania, with his second interception of the year, and the Hawkeyes take it away. A rare interception by Navarre. He came into the game with a long interceptionless streak of 125 passes in a row.
That one, Sean, throwing into coverage. Stockdale had great position. And the one thing that Bob Sanders, he's a run-stopping safety. The coaches talk about how much better he's gotten in his safety drops. That time, obviously, a little lucky with the bounce off Stockdale's back. But going over to help out, an opportunistic play by Bob Sanders.
The streak reached 128 consecutive passes without an INT for Navarre before that picked off by Sanders. Their own 49, first and 10 Hawkeyes. McCann a lot of time. Now he's going to run with some room. And he's down at the 44 of Michigan. Dante Orr, the defensive end, the sophomore from Detroit, who's their leading tackler among the defensive linemen, but only 7th on the team in total tackle. As we mentioned, the linemen generally try to occupy the blockers and let the linebackers and defensive backs make the tackles. Today's first and 10 line is brought to you by Chevy Trucks. High formation now. Jeremy Allen in front of Liddell Betts. Betts with some running room to the right. First down and more. Down to the 37-yard line. Marlon Jackson, the cornerback, took him down. Betts coming off his first 100-yard game of the season, the 10th of his career, when he rushed for 172 last week in their win against Indiana, up to 488 yards this year in team high.
And Jeremy Allen, the fullback, so key in this offense. Ken O'Keefe said when he's involved in our game plan, we're a better offense. That time, a fantastic job. There was a blitz to the strong side that got penetration. He stopped it right in the hole, and Betts was able to bounce it.
We'll stick with Allen and Betts in the eye on first and 10. McCann stumbled back from center. Might have been stepped on by one of the offensive linemen. A loss on the play. Back to the 42. Let's get an update at Times Square Stadium from John Saunders.
Sean, here in the Burger King update from UCLA against Stanford. UCLA's defense has been terrific. Brian Allen, the intended receiver, that's a lateral, so a live ball picked up by Ryan Meese. He goes 39 yards for the touchdown. UCLA scores first, and the way their defense plays, Stanford could be in for a long day, Sean.
Indeed, they could. Of course, Michigan, now 7th in the BCS, looking for some help against the teams ahead of them. Already got some today as Syracuse beat Virginia Tech, one of those ahead of the Wolverines in the BCS standings. The pass was intended for Dallas Clark. The hometown crowd wanted a flag thrown. Larry Foote had the coverage on Clark.
Dallas Clark, a great story. He was a walk-on here as a linebacker. And it was his special teams play, Sean, last year that caught the attention of the coaches. All the coaches say he runs well, he's got good hands. That ball, very tough. You had the safety coming over, you had Foote in man-to-man coverage. That ball trying to be forced, even with great hands. I don't know if he can make that play.
Ken O'Keefe said he's been more than a pleasant surprise. He's been a difference for us in a couple of the games this year. McCann in design rollout in trouble, belted down at the 46-yard line. Larry Foote again with help from Charles Drake, who's starting at safety today for Michigan. Julius Curry didn't even make the trip from Ann Arbor as he sits out for the 3rd straight game for the Wolverines with a shoulder injury.
What a treat to play linebacker on a defense like this, Sean. When you have those defensive linemen wrapping everybody up, it frees you up to fly around the field.
Here's Bradley to punt again, the redshirt freshman from San Diego. Out of Torrey Pines High School, a high booming punt. Too long. Into the end zone, 46 yards on the punt, with just 26 net. No score with 5:08 left in the first quarter. City. Michigan with its second possession of the game. The first one ended with the interception. For the second time, they'll start from their own 20. John Navarre became his team in the spring when Drew Henson decided to take the big money from the New York Yankees and become a full-time professional baseball player. And that helped Navarre, the coaches say, that he had the bulk of the work in spring practice to gel with his teammates. Of course, he saw some action last year as well. B.J. Askew, the ball carrier, and Fred Barr made the tackle.
Stan Parrish talks about his relationship with John Navarre and how comfortable they are with each other. They go through the week of practice, and as they walk off the field, they spend a lot of time talking about what John Navarre likes. Stan said, well, he's a smart enough guy that I can believe what he's saying, so I red dot those plays, and that becomes my game plan for this week.
He's got three receivers to the left, and then Navarre rolls to the right and throws it away. Looking for the tight end, Benny Joffre, cutting across the field, but he was well covered. Interesting play. Three wide receivers all to the left, and a design rollout to the right for Navarre.
And again, Matt Stockdale, who was in a great position on that interception to have the ball bounce off his back, picked up Joffre coming across the field. A very bright player, Stockdale. That's why Navarre had to throw it in the dirt.
Bunch the three receivers to the left. Chris Perry, the lone back. Navarre with all day to throw, has his man. First down, Michigan out to the 40-yard line. Ronald Bellamy with coverage from Benny Sapp. A gain of 17. ABC Sports presentation of college football is brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Valvoline's Max Life, the first motor oil formulated for higher mileage engines. By Sprint PCS, the clear alternative to cellular. And by new Nivea for Men. Aftershave balm, more evolved skincare. Askew. Flag thrown. Askew thrown down near the 44. Aaron Camden made the tackle, but it'll come back on a holding penalty against the Wolverines.
I believe it's on the center, Kurt Anderson, number 71. He's blocking on Jerry Montgomery, a veteran defensive lineman who's been battling an ankle injury back in the ballgame for the first time. Here's Montgomery right here. Gets great penetration up the field. Kind of a rollover block. Maybe they called him because the left arm was locked underneath of it. But Montgomery, good pad level getting up the field.
Anderson is a fifth-year senior who did not start a game until this year in the season opener against Miami of Ohio. And has started every game this year. His brother Eric, the former All-American linebacker at Michigan, who won the 1991 Butkus Award as the best linebacker in the nation. Askew, the lone back. Navarre swings it out, and Askew has a lot of green grass, but they're closing in quickly. And he's tackled after a gain of 4. Mike Dolezal and Fred Barr combine on the stop. Here's Leslie Goodell.
Sean, before the game, Lloyd Carr recalled a story about Kurt Anderson when he was a third grader. Eric was a senior playing for Michigan. Michigan was on the bus ready to leave. Anderson is a third grader outside the bus tackling kids on the asphalt. He looked out, he said, I don't know who that kid is, but he's going to play for me someday.
Well, he just tackled one of the Hawkeyes and got flagged for it.
I had the treat of blocking Eric Anderson in the Rose Bowl. The 92 Rose Bowl. He was a really, really good college linebacker.
How'd you do?
I held him every day.
Ate him up on every play, I'm sure. Second and long, Navarre over the middle. And a short gain to Chris Perry, the sophomore from Advance, North Carolina. He ran into Dolezal. We mentioned Dolezal alternates the middle linebacker with Roger Meyer. With Norm Parker, their fine defensive coordinator here at Iowa, told us that Dolezal is better against the pass, and that's why he's been in there on a number of passing situations, including that one. 3rd and 12 now. No score. Approaching 2 minutes left in the first quarter. 4 receivers with Navarre out of the gun. Look out. Flag thrown in the backfield. Looked like they might have inadvertently gotten a piece of Navarre's face mask. He's thrown down for a loss. Back at the 33 by Derek Pickens. Aaron Campman put the original pressure on and might have, he did, get the face mask.
It's an inadvertent. It'll only be a 5-yard penalty, not an automatic first down. But watch as the pressure comes. That's Howard Hodges who grabs his face first. Hodges in there, the fastest defensive lineman in there because he's so good off the edge. That time they ran a little stunt on the strong side. He came free, and as he went to make a play, that hand just got up in Navarre's face.
Hodges, a sophomore from Copperas Cove, Texas. Fastest defensive lineman they have, according to Norm Parker, the defensive coordinator. 3rd down and 8.
And this is where Iowa has made their biggest improvement, Sean, is they now have depth at defensive line where they can rotate and still get pressure.
They bunch the 3 receivers to the right. Navarre looks right and zings one too high. Over the head of Ronald Bellamy with Matt Stockdale in coverage. Stockdale's a senior from Iowa Falls. Norm Parker says he's the most improved player and the most pleasant surprise on their defense. Last year, he was a safety and a part-time cornerback.
Just made the switch this year, and it was him in the classroom that made Norm Parker believe that he could be an every-down cornerback for him.
You saw Coach Parker there, a 34-year coaching veteran. The punt from Epstein. Khalil Hill, the running back, and he's collared at the 28-yard line. Bill Seymour, the starting tight end, down on punt coverage to make the play for the Wolverines. A 36-yard punt, a 6-yard return, and still no score in Iowa City. Just 71 yards of total offense combined between these two teams with a minute 35 left in the first quarter. Brad Banks comes in at quarterback now for Iowa. They generally try to get him into 1 possession per game. He's played in 4 of the first 6 games this year. He's a junior college transfer. His pass is deflected off one receiver, caught by another. Caught by Tim Dodge, who's out to the 36-yard line.
Just talked about the position change for Stockdale. This guy, Tim Dodge, has been all over the place. A kick returner, a punt returner, a wide receiver. Last year started 9 at cornerback because they just needed him over there. This ball a little behind and high for his intended receiver, Dallas Clark. Tim Dodge layered right behind them. A lot like the interception Stockdale had earlier, just lucky to be in the right spot.
I'd say the Hawkeyes dodged a bullet on that, Karam. Actually, I wish you had said that. Play action fake by Banks. He's a better runner than McCann. His pass behind Clark and incomplete. Cato June had the coverage on Dallas Clark. Banks, 6'1", 185 pounds, from Belglade, Florida. In his first season at Iowa after 2 seasons at Hines Junior College in Mississippi. He originally enrolled at the University of Central Florida, had a redshirt season there, then transferred to junior college, and coming out of the junior college program came here to Iowa. He's a wide receiver as a freshman in junior college, played quarterback his 2nd season at Hines and led them to an 11-1 record. Here's Liddell Betts powering for a first down on 3rd down and short. A first down out to the 42-yard line. Victor Hobson and Cato June combining on the tackle.
You know, when we talked to Kirk Ferentz, the head coach, about that, we talked about the 1,090 yards he ended up with last year. He didn't get this kind of blocking, Sean. There are black shirts covering up all of the white shirts. Yes, there was good penetration at the point of attack by Hoyer, the defensive tackle, but everybody is covered up, and that allows Betts, talked to us yesterday about, hey, I don't want to go sideways. I just want to be going downhill all the time.
Thanks for the 4-man rush. Pump fake. Loves it. Man wide open. It's Dodge. Good move at the 25. And down to the 19. The ball was underthrown, and that was probably going to be a touchdown. Todd Howard made the tackle. You see Banks upset with himself because if that ball had a little more air, it was 6 points for the Hawkeyes. They'll settle for a gain of 39 and a first down.
Todd Howard gets caught peeking in the backfield. Watch the pump fake. And Tim Dodge, an All-American on Iowa's track team, he's run a 10.49 100 meters. He's not a guy you want to take your eye off. He's not, doesn't get used very often. But you're right, Sean, if that ball gets thrown with more air under it, this is a walk-in for Dodge.
It's the last play of the first quarter. No score at the end of one. ABC Sports presentation of college football will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Sean McDonough at Cunningham. Leslie Goodell back in Iowa City. 1st and 10 Hawkeyes on the first play of the second quarter. No score. They're at the Michigan 19. Dallas Clark will tie in the motion. That's in the big hole. Inside the 10, inside the 5, and down near the 2-yard line. Todd Howard saved the touchdown.
The one thing Ken O'Keefe talked about was formations, changing them up, making different looks. That time Dallas Clark starts as the tight end on the right, comes over as a wingback, and Michigan does not adjust to the strength of the formation. They changed the strength of the formation, got numbers to the backside. Wouldn't be surprised, Sean, if that's not a check with me for the quarterback. Count the defenders, go away from the strength.
Michigan opponents averaging just 1.8 yards per rush coming into today's game, but Beck's doing much better than that. And of course, right on cue, he's dropped for a loss. Back to the 5 by Larry Foote. Betts grew up a Michigan fan, even though he's from Blue Springs, Missouri. So they were on TV all the time. I just always liked them. He found Iowa to be the best spot for him after he visited this campus, liked the community, liked the people, and he's very comfortable here.
He's not comfortable in the backfield when he sees 17 able to run through like that. Again, Sean, you can't say enough about this defensive line and their ability to take on 1 and 2 people, as strong as they've had in Jim Herman's 12 years here on the defensive side of the ball, defensive coordinator.
Got the play off with 1 second left. Banks in trouble, but he's a good runner. Needs to throw it now. Did not. Needs to throw it away, and he does. He managed to escape. Shante Orr finally forced the throw toward the stands. It'll be 3rd down and goal. That was a play that seemed doomed from the start because they really had to hurry with the play clock running out.
And the defenders from Michigan right there, Ramashek and Kashama, were right in his face as he came back around. He had to make a lot of plays. And this is one of the reasons that Banks, they like to get him in there. They like his ability to run with the ball, with defenses able to move. And McCann, quite frankly, doesn't quite have that good a feat.
8th play of the drive upcoming. They're going to reset the play clock. The reason for the whistles. They told us, did the coaches, that Banks is more mobile, perhaps has even a little bit of a stronger arm than Kyle McCann. Right now, because of the experience, McCann is a better decision maker. Allen the lone back, 3 wide receivers. Banks zings one, touchdown, Dallas Clark.
Talking at the beginning of the game of the great hands of Dallas Clark, and he's had 3 drops today, although every ball was thrown behind him into coverage. This will give you an idea of how good his hands are. That ball a little behind him, and the defender coming up back catches it right in his fingertips. Great job by Dallas Clark.
Nate Kading adds the extra point. Brad Banks comes off the bench and engineers the first scoring drive of the game. 8 plays, 72 yards, and a touchdown to Dallas Clark. Lloyd Carr just watched his Michigan Wolverines give up their first touchdown against Iowa since 1997 when Tim Dwight returned to punt for a score in Ann Arbor. Of course, these two teams haven't played since 1998. When Michigan won here 12-9 in the rain at Kinnick Stadium. Behind Tom Brady, Dallas Clark with the touchdown catch. His 3rd touchdown of the year, and a very nice catch on a ball with a lot of zip on it that he had to catch in his hands.
And his thank you is now he gets to go out and cover a kickoff.
Nate Kading kicks off. Todd Howard and Marlon Jackson back deep. From the 1, it's Howard, the senior from Bolingbrook, Illinois. Nice return. The kicker, Kading, had to tackle him. Out at the 34-yard line, a 33-yard return by Howard. 1 yard shorter than his longest of the season. ABC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By America's Dairy Farmers. Ah, the power of cheese. By FedEx. Shipping at FedEx.com. It's fast, it's easy, and it just got cheaper. And by Thrifty Car Rental. Great cars, great rates at more than 1,200 locations worldwide. Thrifty Car Rental. Hawkeyes lead 7-0. Good field position for the Wolverines from the 34. Askew got very little. Mike Dolezal's been a standout at middle linebacker so far today. He had 10 tackles last week against Indiana. They were running all over the field chasing around Antoine Randall L. Another stop today for Dolezal.
And Norm Parker, when we were talking to him about his concerns playing Michigan, he brought up Indiana. He said, you know, we're not going to be great against a really fast team, but if you just come in and try to pound us, we're going to be all right because of guys like Dolezal.
Navarre to throw on second down. It's deflected by Dolezal again. He dropped into the flat and had the coverage on the backup tight end, Sean Thompson.
You had mentioned the interceptions, the lack of interceptions thrown by Navarre, and this is the second throw, Sean. The first one hit Stockdale right in the back that Sanders intercepted, but he never saw Dolezal coming underneath his tight end. He's got to see him running out there underneath that route.
And they weren't expecting to see a lot of defensive looks from Iowa. Iowa pretty much lines up in its base defense, tries to play solid technique and make you earn what you get. Navarre throws deep. Marquise Walker, a terrific catch with Matt Stockdale draped all over him. Looked like the Iowa sideline wanted a holding call as someone had a hold of Aaron Campman, but there was no flag thrown, a gain of 20.
Right there on the top of your screen, Stockdale's trailing in very good position, Sean, but when you give up that much height, Stockdale at 5'10" and Walker at 6'3" with great leaping ability, very tough for Stockdale. He couldn't have been really in better position there.
There's Perry, the lone back. Two tight ends in the ball game now. And it's a reverse to Calvin Bell. This is his specialty. Sixth time this year he's carried the ball in a reverse. And Grant Steen made the tackle at the 38-yard line. Steen's a sophomore from Emmitsburg, Iowa, in northwest Iowa. Came to Iowa as a walk-on. He sprained his ankle early in his senior year in high school, and a lot of schools backed away. Iowa, Iowa State, Nebraska invited him to walk on. He came here because he grew up a Hawkeye fan. Now he's on scholarship and starting as a sophomore.
And he's one of those guys that Norm Parker and Kirk Ferentz talk about that just because of their sheer work ethic has put himself in a position to be on the field for every play.
Now Bellamy in motion. Navarre dumps it off for the tight end. Seymour belted back by Benny Sapp. It is, however, a first down for Michigan to the 32-yard line. Seymour makes it 2 catches in every game that he's played this year with this reception.
It's a pretty good shot for a little guy. Benny Sapp goes 181 pounds. Seymour nearly 260. You mentioned how he runs his mouth about as much as his cousin. Well, you let him get hits like that, that motor will get running.
Lots of different formations from Michigan. Not many of them fooling the Hawkeyes. Derek Pickens there to stop B.J. Askew at the 30-yard line. Pickens, a senior from Houston, Texas, in his second year here after 2 at junior college at Kilgore in Texas, where he was a first-team junior college All-American as a sophomore, the first Kilgore defensive lineman ever to earn All-American honors. Some equipment with Jonathan Goodwin and Jerry Montgomery were tangled up the headgear, so it took a moment to separate them. Second down and 8 now. From the 30-yard line. To the backfield. Navarre with time, throws, and it is incomplete, and Seymour got laid out, this time by Shane Hall, and Seymour's not moving. He got belted back by Sapp a moment ago, and this time it was the safety Hall who laid him out. And the fans are roaring that this is a scary moment as Seymour hasn't moved since he hit the ground.
And this time, Navarre locks in on Seymour the whole way. He has to look off the safety. Wow, Seymour really laid out and tried to make a great play on that. But Navarre brought the safety Hall over with his eyes because he locked in right from the snap. Hall didn't have to go anywhere else on the field, saw the tight end down the seam and timed out his shot.
Well, the good news is you can see that Seymour's moving his arms and legs, and now he's sitting up. And apparently is conscious as he talks with the Michigan medical staff. And he's taken a couple of wallops in succession.
Tickets are now available for Lisa Bluder's net.
Third down and 8. And deafening noise from the crowd. Michigan from its own 30. It's Benny Joffre, the backup tight end, well short of the first down. Bob Sanders, the safety, made the tackle in the open field. He's a very dependable tackler. Their best player on defense, according to the coordinator, Norm Parker. Fourth down, Michigan at the Iowa 27. And Hayden Epstein is on to try a field goal of 44 yards. On the right hash mark, John Navarre, the quarterback, is the holder. Jeremy Miller, the snapper. Epstein 7 out of 10 in field goals for the year, but this one's wide right all the way. Epstein now just 1 for 4 this year from between 40 and 49 yards.
Shot, he was on that right hash. A lot of strong leg kickers like Epstein try to start it right at that right upright and hook it back in, draw it back in, and Epstein just didn't get enough leg through the ball to get that thing to hook back into the middle.
A very good kicker through the years for Michigan. Did at least 1 field goal in 10 straight games dating back to last year. Now it's Kyle McCann back in at quarterback, and he's going to run it on 1st and 10. Out of bounds at the 30, a short gain. So Banks had 1 possession at quarterback, led them to the touchdown, and goes back to the bench.
From the Iowa 30.
Time now for our Aflac trivia question. On October 19th, 1985, number 1 Iowa met number 2 Michigan. Iowa won the game 12-10. We want to know who were the quarterbacks that day.
I think I know one.
I don't know if I know the other. McCann throws in the flat. Caught by Jeremy Allen. Avoids 1 tackler. First down, Iowa. Allen out of bounds at the 38-yard line. Charles Drake and Larry Foote took him out.
Allen, a fantastic athlete. Like Tim Dodge, an All-American on the track team here at Iowa, holds both the shot put and discus records at the University of Iowa. And Ken O'Keefe said, we have to keep him involved. He's so athletic. You saw that time. Wonderful hands. Very tough runner after the catch.
Jeremy also has a twin sister, Jill, who competes in track and field as a hurdler at Western Michigan. He's lined up at fullback in the eye in front of Liddell Betts. Dallas Clark moves in motion. Betts. Nice cut back to the inside and get back near the line of scrimmage and avoid the loss. Sean Lazarus made the tackle. Monday night, it's a big AFC Central showdown when the Freak battles the Bus. Javon Curse and the Titans face Jerome Bettis and the Steelers. And Jerome will be mic'd up. We'll have a mic on the Bus for Monday Night Football. Live at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ABC. The Bus is coming off 4 straight games of at least 100 yards rushing for the surprising Steelers playing great defense. McCann on 2nd down and nearly 10. A screen for Betts. Nice move, but couldn't break the 2nd tackle. He's down to the 43 in the arms of Victor Hobson, the junior from Mount Laurel, New Jersey.
Hobson, another one of those guys who's really benefited being able to free range, run around. because of the defensive line. That time it looked like that play was going to go for a lot more yards than it did. Ball was tipped a little bit when McCann tried to get it over the defensive end, and that allowed Hobson, with very good speed at 244 pounds, to come over and make the tackle.
He's out of St. Joseph's Prep in Pennsylvania, the same high school that produced the Raiders quarterback Rich Gannon. Third down and 5. The Hawkeyes 3 for 5 on third down today. McCann has a man wide open, but he lofted it up there for Hill, and it's incomplete. Charles Drake came over to cover, but Hill was open for a moment. It was a bit too much of a looping pass and off target, and that gave the defense time to close.
You know, you can always try to blame the quarterback. Here you go, Khalil Hill. But he was running for his life at that moment, Sean, and when he finally saw Hill, it was too late, and Charles Drake was able to come over and make a play on the ball.
And not a very good punt by David Bradley, but it gets a great bounce. Ronald Bellamy didn't stop it, and Tim Dodge is going to down it at the 2-yard line. A 56-yard punt by Bradley, and he could use a break. And he's had a tough season to the point where they've divided up the punting chores between Bradley and Nate Kading. And if you're a Michigan fan, you have to cheer for David Bradley. While he was in high school in suburban San Diego, he lost both parents within a short period of time. His dad, Dennis, to melanoma. His mother, a year later, diagnosed with liver disease and died shortly thereafter. His aunt and uncle come to a lot of the games and are his guardians, but both parents are deceased. John Navarre with his team operating from the shadow of the uprights. The noisy section right behind them in that end zone. B.J. Askew got them some breathing room out near the 5, and he ran into Grant Steen and Fred Barr.
This was always my least favorite drill that we used to run, the bring it out drill. Whenever you're inside the 5-yard line, old school coaches like Lloyd Carr and my college coach Don James, you spend a lot of time during fall practice working on this. And it's all short. If you do anything, it's play action pass with a fade to the outside, because you have to be so careful with the ball down here.
Navarre on the draw. Askew out to the 7. And fighting for every inch before Roger Meyer got him on the ground. Here's Leslie Goodell.
Well, a collective pause when Bill Seymour went down, but the good news is he just had the wind knocked out of him. He's been sitting on the bench talking to the trainers, seems very alert, and they said he should be back in the game. It was just a matter of getting the wind knocked out of him. He got hit pretty hard.
And he's a guy that you could really use down here, Sean, a good blocker as well as a good pass receiver. Any kind of play action, your tight end becomes a really big-time threat.
They do have good depth at tight end. Thompson, Joffrey, Babuch all play a lot. Navarre again with time, throws, incomplete. Over the head of one of those tight ends, Benny Joffrey. So Iowa should get the ball back in terrific field position, already leading 7-0 with 6.5 minutes left in the first half.
And Sean, with some momentum going for Kirk Ferentz, I know you've got a good return man in Khalil Hill. This is a spot on the field. They're bringing guys in to maybe go after it.
Right now they have Chris Oliver back for the punt, and it's a short punt from Epstein. Handled at the 42. And Oliver brings it back to the 34. An 8-yard return. And terrific field position for the Hawkeyes. Harold Diggs made the tackle for Michigan. It was a 37-yard punt. Coming up on the Capital One halftime show, John Saunders and Terry Bowden bring you all the scores and highlights from college football today. I heard our friends and colleagues on ESPN this morning, Chris Fowler and the gang, referring to this as Shakedown Saturday, and there are a lot of big matchups that are going to create some movement in the top 10 in the BCS rankings. We've already had Nebraska's win over Oklahoma. Syracuse upset Virginia Tech. Brad Banks, who led them to the touchdown drive, in for his second possession now. He handed the ball off to Liddell Betts, who took it to the 30 for a gain of 4.
Kirk Ferentz talks a lot. Of course, he was a coach in the NFL for several years. Talks about player development, which is kind of a term you think of in the NFL, but this is why you see Banks in the game. You have to be able, he moved the ball very well. McCann, when we met with him yesterday, didn't seem so pleased, but he understood the concept that this is developing players. You have to have depth. for them to take the next step as a program.
He wasn't displeased either. He said, hey, thanks, it's a good changeup. Gives us more of a running threat, and there he goes with a running room. First down, inside the 18. Larry Foote and Cato June made the tackle. A lot of the Hawkeye fans have been clamoring for Banks to play more. McCann's had an up-and-down career in and out throughout the years as the starter. And when Banks has played frequently, he has made things happen. Led them to a touchdown drive last week against Indiana when he got into the ballgame.
That play looks like Clemson of the Midwest. Go from a shotgun formation. Woody Danzler runs that so well for the Tigers, and you have the fullback Allen leading up on the linebacker.
Three wide receivers now. Betts the lone back. Banks again has some running room. The crowd tells him to run, and he takes the advice and is shoved out of bounds at the 11 by Victor Hobson. Let's get an update at Times Square Stadium. Here's John.
Sean, after a Deshaun Foster fumble, Brian Allen, who dropped the ball that allowed UCLA to get their first touchdown, goes 35 yards for the touchdown. 21-7. UCLA hadn't given up 21 points in a game this year. 17 their most against, but they're down double digits. Meanwhile, Maryland has jumped to a 14-0 lead over Florida State. Sean.
Ralph Region continuing to surprise. Down to the 10-yard line goes Betts. Victor Hobson and Norman Hoyer made the tackle. And Ed, we talked about Michigan, number 7 in the BCS entering this week. UCLA's ahead of them. They're trailing by 2 touchdowns right now. Virginia Tech ahead of them. They've already lost today. Obviously, Oklahoma lost today, so there is the chance for Michigan to get right back into the national championship picture if they can win out.
Well, I don't think they overlooked this Iowa team, Sean. I mean, you know, Lloyd Carr knew coming in that this team would stick to its guns, but I don't know, with the way it's going, he has to be a bit concerned about how his guys are playing.
Wide receiver screen. Second time they've run that play for Khalil Hill. He's at the 8-yard line. Very close to the first down, and Eric Bracken put a pretty good lick on Hill.
Sean, if it's not a first down, the way Kirk Ferentz is and the way he has got this program going, not a bit surprised if he decides to go for it on 4th down.
I would kick the field goal and take a 2-score lead. You're the underdog. You need to continue to have good things happen. We're not even going to bother to measure. Looks like 4th and less than a yard. And Coach Ferentz wants a timeout to think about this one. It's an important decision with 3:46 left in the half. After much debate on the sideline during the timeout, Kirk Ferentz sends the field goal unit on, and Ed, I think this is the right idea. You've got the momentum on your side, a chance to get ahead by 2 scores as the underdog. Keep momentum on your side.
I agree. I agree. It just seemed the way his face looked that he might try to go for it, but this is the right decision, Sean.
They're Kading 5 out of 7 in field goals this year. 26-yard try, and Iowa leads 10-0. I think if you told Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes with 3:43 to go in the half, you'd be up 10-0, he'd be very happy with that, so why get greedy? We talked with the Iowa players yesterday. A number of them echoed the sentiments of Dell Betts, who said to us, the difference this year is compared to the last few, now we take the field, no matter who we're playing, we know we have a chance to win. And it hasn't been that way all the time in recent years.
You know, and it was amazing talking to Kirk Ferentz. He talked about a book he read by Jimmy Johnson talking about his first year in Dallas, how after a while he just stopped talking to the team because he had nothing positive to say. He said Kirk feels like this is the first year that he can go in, and when he talks about let's play physical, he knows he now has the guys that can get that done.
Ferentz in his 3rd season here, 46 years old. An assistant in the NFL, once the head coach at the University of Maine. Was on Hayden Fry's staff here for 9 years in the 80s during some great days for Iowa football. Bob Howard and Marlon Jackson back for the kickoff from Nate Kading. From the 2, it's Howard. And Good coverage by Iowa. Howard down at the 23. They've had some problems on special teams, so Coach Ferentz has put more starters on special teams, including Roger Meyer, the middle linebacker who made that tackle. Our Pacific Life game summary. John Navarre just under 50%, while the Iowa quarterbacks are above 50%. And Betts with 37 yards rushing, and Iowa with the decided edge in total yardage.
And really the difference has been, Sean, that Michigan has found the going very tough, straight-ahead running. B.J. Askew has got nothing going. This Iowa defense playing very stout in the middle. Michigan might want to start trying to move things around and try some tricks on Norm Parker's defense.
Navarre avoids the rush and throws through the hands of the tight end, Benny Joffre, the junior from Wayzata, Minnesota. Pressure applied on the quarterback by Colin Cole.
One thing that Iowa loves to do up front, Sean, you mentioned how they're basic and they just kind of line up. They play zone defense. They don't blitz a lot, but they're very active with their defensive line. They run a lot of nose guard and tackle stunts. Jared Claus right there, and you'll see him and Pickens run what's called a nose tackle stunt, a bunch in the middle, and this young offensive line for Michigan sometimes has difficulty with that kind of slanting, stunning scheme.
Navarre will throw again, and it is caught. First down and more for Calvin Bell. Out to the 47-yard line. A sophomore from Simi Valley, California, with a gain of 23.
Kind of awkward at the end of this play. Benny Sapp looked like he was in position right there to make a tackle and then pulls his hands away. I couldn't figure out what he was trying to do as the ball was coming in. Maybe afraid he was going to get called for interference, but he's got to stay. Watch how he pulls his hands back as the ball is caught and doesn't even pursue. Afraid maybe that the officials would have called him, but he's still got to stay in the play and try to make that tackle.
And he definitely feared the flag that was being called earlier. Navarre steps up, throws deep, up for grabs, contact. And a flag thrown. Marquise Walker and Bob Sanders collided. The officials are conferring. I think they're going to talk about whether or not this ball was catchable.
Well, not only that, Sean, but Bob Sanders, I don't think it was intentional, him running in. As he spun around to get it, Marquise Walker came up to try to make the play, and the two just got tangled. Sanders doing a nice job backing up.
Disregard the flag. There was no foul on the play.
And, Sean, you like to see officials do that. You know, one official sees one thing, and if the other official can come over and make his case that nothing happened, and that Sanders should not have been flagged, which he shouldn't have, it's nice to see that the officials can get together.
And that's not nice to see for the Hawkeye fans. Mike Dolezal, who's had a terrific first half, going to the locker room. He alternates at middle linebacker with Roger Meyer. With Meyer in there, they have plenty of experience, but Dolezal's a little bit better against the pass. 2nd and 10, they hand it off to Bell, who went in motion and took the hand off, and he's smothered at the 49. Aaron Campman and Matt Stockdale with Meyer as well in on the play. And now it's Stockdale hobbled, and he's going to limp off.
Walk-on freshman comes in for him. Chikose Igiazi comes in, a walk-on who's fought himself to get into the lineup. You like how I got that out, right?
I was very impressed that you pronounced his name correctly.
And if you're Michigan, you've got to look at the new blood out there right here on the top of your screen and maybe try to take a shot.
Navarre with all kinds of time throws, and it is incomplete. Looked like Walker took his eye off the ball. Fred Barr, the linebacker, dropped deep into coverage. Tough to tell from our vantage point why Walker didn't catch this one.
Well, I think you're right, Sean. There's Barr right there coming in. And I think Walker either saw him or heard footsteps because he took his concentration off the ball.
Booming nose-up spiral punt by Epstein, and a great bounce for him. Hit near the 5-yard line and backs up to the 9. A 42-yard punt by Epstein. Time now for the Dodge drive summary with 2:05 left in the half. Iowa's last 5 drives, 2 of the last 3 have resulted in scores.
And that drive with the touchdown, the 72-yard drive, was sparked by Brad Banks coming in at quarterback. And, Sean, you'd mentioned how they kind of want him to play more. Well, Kyle McCann, who's played well this year, other than maybe the Michigan State game back in, there was a smattering of boos as he came back on the field.
Across the 10 to 11, and Michigan calls a quick timeout with 1:59 left in the half. Eric Brackens made the tackle. Kyle McCann has led the off. Iowa has punted all 3 times. Banks has had 2 possessions as the quarterback and led them to the touchdown and the field goal.
Now with the way that the field position has set up, the Michigan coaches, knowing that Iowa is going to have to be very careful, backed up on their own 10-yard line, they're not going to do much to start using those timeouts so you get the ball back with some time on the clock.
I think that's why McCann's in there, Ed. He's the veteran, more experienced, the better decision maker. In this situation with a 10-point lead deep in your own territory, you just don't want a key mistake.
And they expect more. They can get more out of their offense with McCann in there. When we spoke to him yesterday, you asked the question about, some coaches let people make changes at the line of scrimmage, some don't. What about you? He gets to make a lot of changes because of the command he has with his offense as a 5th-year senior.
Next Saturday, ABC Sports is back with more college football at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Some of you will see either these Michigan Wolverines versus Michigan State or number 23 Illinois against Purdue. In other regional action, Florida State, Clemson, Oregon State, and USC. Check your local listings for details. Or get all the games on pay-per-view by calling your local cable or satellite company.
Sean, you mentioned the decision that Ferentz made to kick the field goal was the right one. Here in 2nd and long, I know they want to control this ball, but you have Tim Dodge lined up down here at the bottom as a track guy. Maybe try to lay one out, a safe throw to the sideline.
McCann in trouble, and he's sacked for a 1-yard loss. Larry Foote and Grant Bowman combining on the sack. And another timeout called by Michigan, leaving the Wolverines with 1.
Larry Foote blitzes from the outside because they had emptied the backfield and they had the remaining running back over to the left. Nobody there to pick him up, and a nice decision by McCann. Take that ball, tuck it, and take the sack. You don't want to do something dumb. Throw it up for grabs.
That's the 3rd sack today for Larry Foote, for a total of 14 yards in Iowa losses. He started the day with just 1 sack, but had the 14 tackles for loss, as we mentioned earlier. That leads the nation. He had 6 of those tackles for a loss, and their only loss of the season at Washington back in early September, when a blocked field goal and an interception run back for a touchdown were the killers from Michigan in blowing a late lead.
That was one of those games I was actually there where it looked like Michigan had the game well in hand. I mean, they physically beat up the Huskies, but just able to hang around, and that's a game that, as the season goes on, Sean, you've seen in the BCS, people start to forget that a little bit, those early losses.
So it'll be 3rd down and long. And undoubtedly, if Michigan stops Iowa short of the 1st down, they'll use their last timeout and hope to get it back with good field position. Lavelle Betts, the lone back. 2 tight ends in the game. McCann might be changing the play. And the Iowa sideline wanted a timeout. So that leaves each team with 1 timeout now. Monday night, it's that AFC Central showdown. The Titans and the Steelers at 9 Eastern time. Just the 2nd game for the Steelers in their new stadium, beautiful Heinz Field. And the Titans struggling, but a chance to make up some ground in the AFC Central in that battle against Pittsburgh.
The Iowa fans have been giving a little heat to Ken O'Keefe, the offensive coordinator, about being very conservative, Sean. I don't know that this is a place where you want to get very risky. If anything, just get some room for your punter to get the ball off cleanly and go play defense. Your defense has played very well, and that's not a good sign. He has been so big today, Stockdale, for them on defense.
And 2 of their standouts today, Dolezal and Stockdale, have both gone to the locker room. Clearly a left foot injury for Stockdale. There's Ken O'Keefe, the offensive coordinator, near the camera with the star on his headset. Of course, all the others have stars as well. They've been coaching stars today. A well-called game, well-executed game plan, and a 10-0 lead. Three wide receivers. Will they risk a throw inside their own 10? No. A gain of 1. Michigan will likely use its last timeout, and the Wolverines do. Jake Freisinger, the senior in his 5th year in Michigan, from Grosse Ile, Michigan, made the tackle.
And the fans here booing a little bit, but that's the right call. You just don't want to do something that gives the Michigan the ball with any kind of momentum. Punt it away and go back on defense.
We have a timeout, Michigan.
And I think you set up a return if you're Michigan. You've got plenty of time, 1:47. You're down to no timeouts, but with the way that the Pens, when they set the flags for first downs, the clock stops. There's plenty of time for Michigan when they get this ball back.
And the dilemma for Lloyd Carr this week, without Julius Curry, who ordinarily returns punts, do you move Marquise Walker back to return punts, as he did against Purdue very well, with more than 100 yards in punt returns? But if you do that, you lose one of your best punt blockers. Walker, a star wide receiver, is very effective at blocking punts.
So big and so physical at 6'3", 215 pounds. Very rare for a starting wide receiver. You know, it's one thing to have him lined out on a bullet, but if he's down inside blocking a kick, and they've decided, I would bet Sean to go for a return because he's back to grab it.
And Nate Kading will be punting from his own end zone. The alternating punters continue for Iowa. Evan Worthy, the snapper. A good snap. Here comes the block, and they get it. Touchdown, Michigan. It was blocked by Zach Kaufman and recovered by Roy Manning. Touchdown, Wolverines.
They had pressure coming from one side, a return set up from the other, and there was miscommunication somewhere in the middle because Kaufman comes clean free right in the middle of your screen right there. The upback had to pick the inside guy, and the right side of that wedge on the punt absolutely whiffed on Kaufman. The upback had to make a decision between two guys running free. Didn't matter who he picked, Sean, because neither of them were blocked.
Kaufman, the sophomore from Claremont, California, blocked it. Roy Manning, a redshirt freshman from Saginaw, Michigan, with the touchdown. The extra point up and good from Hayden Epstein, and a big momentum turner for Michigan with 1:42 left in the half.
And how frustrating for Iowa. You know, they're getting booed because of the conservative play calling deep in their own territory, but that was just somebody missing an assignment, Sean. Two guys came free, and that upback did not have a chance. He had to pick one or the other. Either one was going to be wrong. How disappointing for Kirk Ferentz that someone blew an assignment on that punt protection.
Hawkeye fans can stay connected here.
They've had 3 punts blocked this year. Penn State blocked one for a touchdown against Iowa when Bradley was the punter.
About USA, proud partner of the University of Iowa, and the power.
Watch the two guys lined up right over the center. They're not allowed to touch the center, but one of those guards, Sean, needs to come down and make a wad of players. Those guys ran in through there scot-free, and the upback, who's protecting right in front of the punter, there's no way he can choose and be right. Kaufman's the one that he doesn't choose and makes the big play.
Michigan hasn't done much in the half, but that's a big play to get the Wolverines back within 3. Epstein kicks off. Red Russell. Stopped at the 19-yard line. Tackled by John Shaw.
Well, now the good news for Iowa, if there is any after a big play like that, you get the ball back with a timeout, 1:37. You can run a lot of offense with this much clock left.
Well, the fans are booing as Kyle McCann comes back in.
But in this situation, he's the right guy to be in for Ken O'Keefe. You already mentioned he knows the entire offense. If they get into a 2-minute hurry-up type offense, quite clearly he's the guy you want running.
Just one timeout left for Iowa. Out to the 23. And here's a situation, Ed, where the fans can help the team. They're still up by 3. They're the underdog. They're likely to go to the locker room with the lead, and yet the booing and the sense that they're not satisfied here in the first half probably isn't helping their team.
No, and once the momentum changes, Sean, the quickest way to get it back is to have the 70,000 people in black and gold get on your side. And well-coached first half by Kirk Ferentz. They need to cut him a little break.
Up the middle, Allen, the ball squirted out. Looked like he was on the ground when he did lose it, but they ruled out a fumble. And takes over. Cato June got it at the 34-yard line. Iowa self-destructing here in the last 2 minutes of the half.
Sean, these are the types of things that Kirk Ferentz said they could not have happened. Ball looked like his knee may have been down. Tough to tell full speed if he was down. And that's what Kirk Ferentz is calling for. But Sean, how quickly things can turn. And against a team like Michigan, this is what Kirk Ferentz said, very difficult to overcome.
Spread formation. Now Michigan thinking about the lead of the half, despite the fact they've been outplayed here in the first half. Navarre trying to capitalize, and it is incomplete. No, that's ruled an interception, even though it was Sapp's helmet, I believe, that came rolling off. There's also a flag down back behind the line of scrimmage. Marquise Walker did contest Sapp on the play. It's holding against Michigan, so that's turned down. Sapp caught the ball. It was his helmet that rolled away. And Iowa will take over at the 1.
Benny Sapp running stride for stride with Walker. Walker making a lot of contact. What a great catch by Benny Sapp. Walker trying to grab the right arm of Sapp. If he goes down, cradles it. A wonderful play by Sapp.
His first career interception, the sophomore from Fort Lauderdale.
And now this Iowa offense in the same position Michigan was a couple of series ago on your own 1-yard line. Sean, I hope they don't boo conservative play calls here. They just got to bang it forward, try to get some room.
And McCann got it out of the end zone, and they pummel him. Michigan has no timeouts left. Some of the defenders signaling safety, but clearly McCann's forward progress got him out of the end zone. Kyle's 23 years old. Started the final 4 games last season. Now the officials stopped the clock because there's a Michigan player injured. And the fans boo that. Hard to believe fans could be unhappy with their team, the underdog, playing the number 8 team of the nation. Ahead by 3, but these folks have grumbled about a lot of stuff here in the first half.
Well, and Iowa would have had to run another play anyway. The ball was set. There was 32 seconds left, so the 25-second play clock was going to start. If they're upset because they thought the clock was going to run out, it wasn't anyway.
Kirk Ferentz has had some critics here, but people forget that this program was definitely on the major slide in the last few years of Coach Hayden Fry, who was a legendary coach and deservedly so, but the talent level really dropped off, and it's taken Ferentz and his staff a few years to build it back up. And a lot of these fans haven't been very patient with him and his staff, even though it's obvious again this year that they're making progress. They want to win big now, and sometimes that just isn't realistic.
Kirk Ferentz did an interesting thing last Sunday in their team meeting. He asked by a show of hands how many guys were recruited by Michigan. 5 guys raised their hand. He said, okay, how many of you got a home visit from Lloyd Carr? And only 1 hand remained in the air. So it's got a long way to go, talent-wise, in recruiting to get this program back to where it was when he was an assistant here under Hayden Fry.
And so we're not going to get the parade All-Americans year after year after year like Michigan. That just doesn't happen here at Iowa. So you're going to get good talented players from time to time, but you also have to get a lot of guys you think you can develop into good players, and that's what he and his staff have been doing. McCann keeps on what will likely be the last play of the half. Half-hearted cheers from the crowd. Hard to figure here in Iowa City. Disappointed with the end of the half, undoubtedly, but you think they'd be happy. Their team's ahead. 10-7 Iowa at the half. ABC Sports presentation of college football will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The Capital One Halftime Show, presented by Capital One, who asks, what's in your wallet? From Times Square Stadium in New York, John Saunders and Terry Bowden.
Welcome here to New York, the Capital One Halftime Show. John Saunders alongside of Terry Bowden. The marquee matchup of the day, Nebraska against Oklahoma. Number 2 against number 3 in the polls, but number 1 Oklahoma against number 2 Nebraska, according to the Bowl Championship Series standings. And this one would turn out to be as advertised. Coming out of the tunnel fired up, and they went right after the quarterback. Jason White gets injured. This just the second start of his career. Pulls up lane here, going out of bounds, and he would not return. Nate Hibble would have to come in at quarterback. Finds Trent Smith 7 yards out. Oklahoma had a 7-0 lead, but Nebraska came back with Darren Dietrich.
Give Nebraska credit. They got stuffed early on their offense, but they stayed with their game plan, kept running the ball, and set up some late passes.
A little trickery here. Nate Hibble to Curtis Fagan. Mark Clayton looking for Hibble, but he fell down. Now keep that in mind, because Nebraska comes back in the fourth quarter. Same play. Eric Crouch to Thunder Collins to Mike Stuntz. 63 yards for a touchdown. It works.
You win championships with a veteran quarterback. A veteran quarterback doesn't fall down when they call your number.
Absolutely. And Nebraska knocks Oklahoma from the ranks of the unbeaten. They had won 20 consecutive games. The numbers there, not impressive for Crouch. What is impressive is how we found the way to get his team into the winner's circle.
That's right. He's effective in his passing game. If he throws it a lot, he loses the football game. But if he throws it effectively, he hits a couple of deep balls over the secondary, because it was the secondary that were making all the tackles on the option.
And what this sets up is a Big 12 championship game that, in all likelihood, although the other coaches in the league aren't going to like hearing me say this, all likelihood, it is going to be a return match.
And don't believe this. Oklahoma, they're telling themselves, if we win the rest of our games and win the Big 12 championship, we will have knocked off the number 1 team in the country and we'll be back in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, because some of the unbeatens are falling.
Right.
Meantime, Joe Paterno was looking to finally pass Bear Bryant, and his quarterback, Zach Mills, the backup, would get the job done. 69 yards on this touchdown run.
Unbelievable. 3 weeks ago, this was the worst offense in the country, averaging 7 points a game. They were on fire. 450 yards of offense today.
Including 26 yards to Tony Johnson. And Joe Paterno says, all right, we're sticking around. Zach Mills then 14 yards to Eric McCoo, and Penn State has the lead. 29-27. Last week, they didn't give him the ride. This week, he gets it as he gets career win number 324 to pass Bear Bryant. But take a look at the numbers on Zach Mills.
Did a great job. This was a team that could not throw the ball. They could not run it. And remember, this was a good Ohio State football team, especially their defense.
Joe Paterno is now number 1. Bear Bryant in his second position. But there's your dad creeping in the weeds, looking to find his way back up.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm so proud for Joe Paterno. He deserved to be the winningest coach in the history of Division I. He struggled so much and kept the confidence of the team up this year.
To say that, starting 0-4, for him to come back with back-to-back wins, tremendous job, Joe. Syracuse against Virginia Tech. We talked about those unbeaten teams. Syracuse, Janelle Riddle takes this and goes 51 yards for the touchdown. Syracuse grabs the lead on Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech actually trailed at halftime the first time this season. Grant Knoll trying to bring him back. 17 yards to Sean Witten for the touchdown. Syracuse's lead is down to 6, but then Mark Holtzman gets the sack for the safety and puts him away.
Well, the reason they're having to throw so much, they couldn't run. For the first time this season, they could not rush for 100 yards.
22-14. You see Mungro with over 100 yards for Syracuse, the first win against a top 5 team since 1991 where they beat Florida. But take a look at teams that have turned this around. Syracuse also, one of their losses to Georgia Tech, they easily could have won that game, standing at 7-2.
That's right. They lost to Tennessee, Georgia Tech, 7 straight games. They've had great defense, great running attack, and R.J. Anderson became their quarterback after a couple of games, and he's led them to a great option quarterback offense.
And by the way, Miami, no doubt, taking note of that game, knowing they have to face Syracuse later. Auburn against Arkansas. Matt Jones, 21 yards to Richard Smith. For the second straight week, Auburn's defense has come up very weak. 14-3 the lead at that point. And Fred Talley, 12 yards in the touchdown run. back-to-back weekends of giving up 40-plus points for Auburn, and Arkansas wins it 42-17.
This is an Arkansas team whose offense had only been averaging 15 points a game. Very disappointing for Auburn University.
And Auburn, again, was also the only remaining team in the SEC without a conference loss. That has gone by the way as well. Stick around. Back with more in a moment. This is the Capital One Halftime Show.
And when every once in a while people say to me, you ought to get out of it, you ought to get out of it. And I'm like everybody else, every once in a while I think about it. And then I realize just how much it means to me and how many really absolutely great days I've had. I don't want to get out of it.
I think that guy had the T-shirt made before or after the win. Congratulations once again to Joe Paterno, 324. No one in Division 1A has ever won more games than Joe Paterno. Well deserved as well. UCLA facing Stanford today. Now, with Virginia Tech and Oklahoma losing earlier, UCLA with a golden opportunity to move up in the BCS standings. This is a game some of you are watching. This Brian Allen, let's go with the ball, forgetting it's behind the line of scrimmage. Ryan Neese picks it up and goes 39 yards for the touchdown. UCLA on top. But Chris Lewis, the backup quarterback, starting today, 20 yards to Luke Powell, tied the game at 7 apiece a short time later. Lewis, terrific today. 3 yards to Teo Johnson, and Stanford has the... Remember, he fumbled that ball. It went for the touchdown. He goes 35 yards here. UCLA had not given up more than 17 points in a game. They've given up 28 points at halftime.
John, it's incredible. This is the Pac-10's best defense. They've not had a bad game every single game. If they don't turn this around quickly, they're going to lose this game. And they've shut down Deshaun Foster.
You take a look at what's left of the undefeated. We started the day, there were 8. Virginia Tech's gone. Oklahoma's gone. And the way UCLA is playing, they could be gone as well for a chance for Maryland to move up the ladder. The Maryland Terrapins facing Florida State. They had never won at Florida State. Chief Osceola says, you're coming into our country and we're going to put the dagger to you. But it didn't look that way when it started out. James Lynch, 65 yards on the touchdown run.
Well, it looked like Florida State panicked early. They gave up this long touchdown run. Then they tried to fake a punt. Got down 14. But when you look at the talent level at Florida State, you say, just play football. You'll beat them.
Chris Ricks, it's Almond Gardner there. And then Sean Hill is picked off by Michael Boulware, who returns it 23 yards for the touchdown. And just like that, Florida State has tied the game. They're not done, though. Chris Ricks, 9 yards to Talman Gardner again, 21-14. And James Lynch had that big touchdown run for Maryland early, but after that, it was pretty much all Florida State.
It sure was. And this is a very good Maryland defense, a veteran squad who I think will come back and play well in the second half.
Florida has a lead over Georgia at 17-10. Rex Grossman has a touchdown pass and a touchdown run. Of course, Grossman has been terrific this year with the exception of one game, that loss against Auburn. Michigan facing Iowa. Michigan, another team with just one loss with a chance to move up with everything happening around them. John Navarre, 128 passes without an interception. That one wasn't his fault, but Sanders comes up with it. Opportune, and then Brad Banks, 5-yard touchdown pass to Dallas Clark. Iowa grabs a 7-0 lead. And then this punt is blocked by Zach Kaufman, recovered by Roy Manning. Michigan gets on the board.
Well, Michigan just needs to settle down. Navarre had 2 interceptions in the first half. They're a better football team, although this is a good, solid Iowa team.
If not for that one bad minute against Washington, Michigan might be an unbeaten team as well. Texas facing Missouri. Texas has looked very good since losing to Oklahoma.
Chris Sims, he's thrown 12 touchdown passes since that Red River shootout loss. He can throw them against everybody but Oklahoma.
Also had a touchdown run as well, 35-16 the final. And Texas A&M clinging to a 3-point lead against Iowa State, 24-21. Joe Weber has a touchdown run for Iowa State. Seneca Wallace, a 54-yard touchdown pass, actually has a couple of those, and a touchdown run as well in that contest. But once again, you cannot stress enough the opportunities that are out there for some teams that are not taking advantage, like UCLA.
I tell you, it looks like a one-loss team may get in. There are so many undefeated teams losing. If you're a one-loss team, hang in there, you may be back.
Keep this in mind. Miami, they're right now number 3. They could remain there with a one-loss team above them. Don't be surprised when it comes out on Monday.
Capital One Halftime Show, presented by Capital One, who asks, what's in your wallet?
On September 11th, 2001, terrorists struck our nation, all Americans were affected. As we move beyond the shock, the sorrow, and the anger, we must resolve to embrace a new period of normalcy, a period not defined by fear, but by patience, alertness, and unity of spirit. For generations, Big Ten faculty, students, and alumni have successfully met intellectual, moral, and physical challenges. We will work, study, and stand together as part of a worldwide effort to eliminate international terrorism directed at citizens of any country. We're confident that strength and unity will ultimately defeat terror and fear.
Still to come tonight for those of you on the West Coast, 4 o'clock Pacific, Oregon facing unbeaten Washington State. Then next Saturday, regional action. Florida State takes on Clemson. That'll be dad against son. Some of you will be in the Pac-10 to watch Oregon State face USC, or one of 2 Big Ten matchups, either Michigan, Michigan State, or Illinois against Purdue. And speaking of the Boilermakers, today against Northwestern, they were banging the drum, and they were banging strong for Brandon Hance. Hance goes 49 yards to Seth Morales for the touchdown.
He was solid. Did not throw any interceptions today. A touchdown pass right here.
190 yards. Also had 9 carries of 49 yards. Northwestern has suddenly hit the skids. Clemson against Wake Forest. Important game for your brother Tommy. Wake Forest looking to creep above 500. Woody Dantzler was the difference again. 32 yards on this touchdown pass.
The D was not just for Dantzler, who rushed for 100 and threw for over 200, but it was for defense. For the first time maybe this year, the defense came on, played a solid game. They'll need to against Florida State next week.
Although when this guy runs and passes, 20 carries, 119 yards, 211 yards through the air as Clemson gets the victory. Stick around. We'll continue with more. The second half is coming up right now. Let's take it back out to the game.
And John, here in Iowa City, the University of Iowa Hawkeye Marching Band is on the field at halftime. Iowa leads Michigan 10-7. ABC Sports presentation of college football will return after this message and a word from our ABC station. Back in Iowa City, number 8 Michigan. There's some teams ahead of them in the rankings, already having been defeated today, trailing Iowa at the break by 3, but some late momentum in the first half of the Wolverines. After the blocked punt led directly to a touchdown. Nate Kading kicks off. Sophomore from Coralville, Iowa. Adjacent to Iowa City with a good kick. About 5 yards deep in the end zone. Todd Howard takes the knee. Ed, terrific defensive performance in that first half by Iowa as the Hawkeyes held Michigan just to 111 yards of total offense.
This is the best defense in the Big Ten. A lot of people don't talk about that, but Norm Parker, we had mentioned how they don't do a lot of different things. They just line up great tacklers. Not a lot of yards after the catch in that first half.
But some concerns perhaps with injuries for Matt Stockdale and Mike Dolezal, both of whom were very effective in that first half. Now Navarre on a draw. B.J. Askew breaks some tackles, fumbles the football! And Michigan got it back at the 25-yard line. Looked like Askew coughed it up. And then the Wolverines got it back at the 25-yard line.
Just as Michigan looks like it's getting something going. Really, Sean, that ball's just not tucked away, and that's Roger Meyer, who's in there for Dolezal, who made the hit, but it wasn't much of a hit. That ball was just away from the body of Askew. Didn't look like it was the type of hit that would cause a fumble.
Here's Perry, the running back, and he's wrapped up for a loss by Colin Cole, the junior from Plantation, Florida. Let's check in with Leslie Goodell.
Sean, I spoke with both coaches at the half. Lloyd Carr said it's hard to win when you can't run the football better than you did in the first half like they did. Bad field position, he gives Iowa credit for that and says they've just got to play better offense. As for Kirk Ferentz, I asked him about Brad Banks, said he certainly stated his case to get more playing time in the second half, and he said he will rotate both quarterbacks in the second half.
When he doesn't play Banks, those folks will let him hear about it. Michigan rushed for just 32 yards in the first half. The reason why Coach Carr was not pleased. LeVar on third down. Throws. Juggling catch. Then it comes out. That's an incomplete pass. Good call by the officials. Ronald Bellamy never had possession. And Michigan will go 3 plays on a punt on the opening possession of the third quarter.
John Navarre off to a shaky start in the first half. He was only 8 of 20. Threw 2 picks in those 20 attempts, but that time, great job of protection up front. He had Bellamy on the deep cross. Bellamy's got to come up with that play.
Epstein to punt, a very high kick. Chris Oliver at the 35. They set up a reverse. C.J. Jones at the 30. Touchdown, Iowa! They love the coaches now.
Great job by Oliver getting that ball, getting all the white shirts going one direction. C.J. Jones, who had 8 punt returns for touchdowns in junior college. It looked like there was some angles by the Michigan pursuit, but he outran everybody.
Well, they lost the momentum with a punt block for a Michigan touchdown at the end of the first half. They get it back with a punt return for a touchdown. C.J. Jones, the junior from Boynton Beach, Florida. 65 yards, an electrifying start to the second half. Well, credit Kurt Barents and his staff. They knew they lost momentum at the end of the first half, with some razzle-dazzle on the punt return to get it right back. C.J. Jones in his first year here at Iowa after 2 at Garden City Community College. A 65-yard punt return after he took the handoff. And a 59-yard touchdown reception last week against Indiana, which was the first touchdown of his Iowa career. Kading's kickoff, run back by Howard. And they get him on the ground at the 25-yard line. Roger Meyer made the tackle. ABC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by Cadillac, the fusion of design and technology. By Tostitos Scoops, the dip lover's chip. By Capital One, who asked what's in your wallet. And by Marriott. Your Marriott awaits.
For Michigan and John Navarre, they need anything, Sean, to get going. I mean, it has been a struggle against this Iowa defense. The #1 defense in the Big Ten has really played that way today.
Matt Stockdale knocked back on the field, the starting cornerback. Marquise Walker buried by Grant Steen. Walker had just 1 catch in the first half. He came in leading the Big Ten with 43 catches. That was a lateral. You wonder if they intended to have Walker throw that football, but he didn't have time to do anything as Steen was all over him.
And you have to give a lot of credit to Norm Parker, the defensive coordinator. He's been around, you mentioned 34 years in coaching, was the defensive coordinator at Vanderbilt before he came here, had some great defenses there. He knew coming into this game he was going to see a bunch of different things and has everybody ready for the trick plays.
Navarre tries to set up a screen. They had that one snuffed out. Jared Kloss was all over B.J. Askew, so Navarre wisely just threw it into the ground. Here's Leslie Goodell.
Well, you mentioned Matt Stockdale and Mike Dolezal, both of them done for the day. Stockdale with a sprained left foot, Dolezal sidelined with a concussion.
Both big losses. Particularly Stockdale. They have Meyer, who's very capable middle linebacker. He alternated with Dolezal anyway. Now they're playing the redshirt freshman at cornerback. 3rd down and 15. Navarre strip. Gets it back at the 12-yard line. Aaron Campbell pulled it out of the hands of John Navarre. And ancient Kinnick Stadium is rocking right now.
What an excellent job by Aaron Campbell. Lined up on the outside, rushing one-on-one on Tony Pate. Going to come from the right side. And Navarre needs to keep better control of that ball. It was not raked away by Campbell.
Epstein punts. Khalil Hill. Look a pop at the 48-yard line. Eric Bracken put the pop on Hill, a 44-yard punt, a 4-yard return.
And now this offense of Iowa can go back to that patience. Here comes the fans again booing because McCann's in. But, Sean, this is going to go back to what Iowa likes to do, just hand it off to Betts.
McCann, the senior from Preston, Iowa. His teammates call him Steady Eddie because he doesn't get too high or too low. Undoubtedly, he's had to deal with both today. The treatment he's received from the fans. He handed it off to Liddell Betts, and Grant Bowman made the tackle. When we spoke with Kyle yesterday, he told us Preston, Iowa's in southwest Iowa, about a 3-hour drive from Iowa City. He said it's the midway point between Des Moines and Omaha, a town of about 9,000. His parents, Jane and Steve, they own a shoe store. They've attended every game since McCann's been here, home and away, with the exception of the game at Arizona his freshman year in 1998. Pass caught, Khalil Hill, inside the 35, inside the 20, and they roll him out of bounds back at the 27-yard line.
This is why the coaches talk about Hill up here at the top of your screen, Sean. Great job. You've got to make the tackle. But watch Dallas Clark hustling downfield, gets a KO block on number 24, Charles Drake, and springs Hill. And if he stays in bounds, might get down inside the 20. But what a tremendous effort by Dallas Clark, the tight end, to peel back and make a block to spring Hill.
28-yard gain for the seniors from Iowa City. Betts tackled by Larry Foote. We were talking about Kyle McCann. His parents attend every game home and away, as do sisters Tristan, who's a sophomore at the University of Northern Iowa, and his 7th grade sister Carrie. They all have season tickets. He said they have 10 other season tickets in their family, and they all get bounced around between grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and friends. So Kyle does have some people cheering for him in the stadium here today. At least 14. Jeremy Allen, the lone back. He takes the handoff. A flag down to the play. Allen down to the 25-yard line. Larry Foote made the primary hit, and Victor Hobson helped finish Allen off.
Dallas Clark a little slow getting up. Looks like he might got a stinger.
Michigan offside. In a relatively penalty-free game, that's just the second flag thrown against the Wolverines.
Offside, defense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, second down.
And Lloyd Carr agitated. They're coming off a bye week after their victory against Purdue 2 weeks ago. And in each of the last 2 seasons, Michigan has lost a game coming off the bye week. He said they tried to keep things like a regular week last week to change that around, but losses to Illinois and Northwestern after an open week the last 2 seasons have been very costly to Michigan in the Big Ten. 2nd and 6. McCann throws incomplete. Intended for C.J. Jones. Todd Howard had the coverage.
That time Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, brought some pressure right in the face of McCann. Had a cornerback sneaking around, brought somebody off the corner. McCann had to throw that ball much earlier than he wanted to. Herman just trying to make anything happen good for Michigan right now on the defensive side of the ball.
Third and 6. They're taking a long time to get this play in. The play clock at 9. They're still in the huddle. Play clock at 5. And McCann has to burn a timeout. That one you can blame on the coaches, as they took forever to get the play in. And there's a flag down.
McCann was visibly upset with the sideline, Sean. They were trying to get different personnel in. They were very late coming to the huddle.
There's no foul on the play. Timeout. Iowa. It's their first.
Hawkeyes looking for another score. Already leading by 10. After the timeout, Kyle McCann and the Hawkeye offense looking at third down at the Michigan 23-yard line.
The way Khalil Hill has been playing, lined up in the slot right over here, move him around, maybe look for a little slip screen.
Third down and 6. Hill went in motion. McCann in the design rollout, looking for Hill. He's open. The ball not well thrown. Hill was breaking open, but the ball was underthrown, and the field goal unit comes on for the Hawkeyes.
Once again, Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, tired of sitting in his base defense, got Larry Foote into McCann's face, made him throw it too quick.
It'll be a 40-yard try for Kading. There's very little breeze in the stadium today after a very windy day yesterday as the cold front blew in. The long for Kading this season is 47, his career long 49. David Bradley the holder. That one is good. Second field goal of the day for Nate Kading. And the Iowa lead grows to 20-7. 9:35 left in the third quarter here. Let's check in at Times Square Stadium with John Saunders.
Here on this Burger King update, Maryland will not give in to Florida State. Into the second half now. Bruce Perry, impressive run from 8 yards out. Maryland regains the lead at 24-21. Remember, they scored the first 2 touchdowns of the game before Florida State came back.
Terrific ball game there, and a good one here as well. Iowa Hawkeyes trying to run their home winning streak to 6 in a row. They've won 5 straight here at Kinnick Stadium, dating back to the end of last year. And Kirk Ferentz says it was really those last 4 games last year. Even though they went 2-2, you could see that they were becoming much more competitive within the conference. The Morgan Stanley well-connected storyline. Tough day for the Michigan offense. LeVar, who had thrown 2 interceptions all year prior to today, both in their only loss to Washington, has thrown 2 today, and Michigan has a total of just 102 yards of offense.
Unbelievable effort by Iowa. They have seen everything Michigan has in their arsenal. They've tried some throws behind the line of scrimmage, double passes, and they've snuffed them all out.
Todd Howard from the board. Good coverage by the Hawkeyes, and he's down at the 14-yard line.
Iowa had been struggling on special teams, Sean, and they had to bring some guys, quote-unquote, out of retirement. Dallas Clark, Grant Steen, Matt Stockdale, who's no longer playing in the ball game, but they had guys that they couldn't trust on special teams, seeing young guys running out of their lanes, and they've really improved in the last 2 ball games.
Well, we apologize to young Mr. Constantine, but they don't have a number 37 listed anywhere on their flip charts or rosters, so we were unable to identify him other than taking the name right off his jersey. But he made the tackle on special teams. B.J. Askew, the coverage, or the ball carrier, rather, and Roger Meyer made the tackle.
It just seems like, Sean, everything from Michigan has been such an effort. End up with a 3.5-yard gain on first down. That's one fan who's not booing.
It was Sean Considine, by the way, a redshirt freshman from Byron, Illinois. Special teams play. They're trying to get the ball to Marquise Walker. He dances out to the 22. About 1.5 yards short of the first down. Shane Hall made the tackle. The senior from Burnsville, Minnesota. Quiet day for Marquise Walker. Leading receiver in the Big Ten coming in. 6th all-time in receptions in Michigan. And how about the list he's on with the 5 ahead of him? It's Fred Barr, who's injured, another starter on the Iowa defense. Anthony Carter, David Terrell, Ty Street, Monty Toomer, and Desmond Howard all have gone on to the NFL. And Marquise Walker needed 28 starting today to catch Anthony Carter's school record of 161 receptions. He has 2 catches for 25 yards today.
And Stan Parrish talked about, we've got to be patient, take what they give us so that we can get some shots down the field to Marquise Walker. But at some point, Sean, with nothing going right on offense, you just got to throw it on the field, let him get down the middle in a seam,
because Matt Stockdale is down, and you've got that redshirt freshman out there. Try to get some motion and some one-on-one matchups and throw one down the field.
Keith Walker, senior from Syracuse, New York, grew up not far from the Syracuse University campus, went to Henniger High School, a prolific high school receiver. He was the first sophomore in New York State history to be first-team All-State at 181 career receptions in high school. That's the New York State record, and more than 3,000 yards receiving. He said he had a lot of pressure to go to Syracuse, but he wanted to get away and experience something else. And he said, Michigan has been the perfect place for me. Chris Perry the back, takes the handoff, running left on third and short, and he put his shoulder down and appeared to get the first down. He ran over Chigozie Igiazi, who is the stand-in for Matt Stockdale. You might understand why his teammates call him Chick. His name's a little bit tough to pronounce. Remember, Norm Parker didn't even try it when we chatted with the defensive coordinator the other day. We just all call him Chick. He's a walk-on out of Prairie High School just up the road in Cedar Rapids, where he was the homecoming king at Prairie High School. And the same night he was named homecoming king, he went out and set the school record with 4 interceptions in one game. Chris Perry again, driven back after a gain to the 27-yard line. Midway through the third quarter, Michigan trying to get the running game going, down by 13. Kevin Worthy, who came into the game when Fred Barr went out, will lead the gang tackling there for Iowa.
I understand you don't want to completely throw away your game plan, only down 13 midway through the third quarter, but it's time to loosen the reins a little bit for John Navarre in this offense. You've got a big play receiver. You've got to start trying to get the ball down the field.
Navarre deep drop, and he is sacked back at the 20-yard line. Well, even with a lot of injuries on the defense, they're still covering well. That was Joseph Usselman, the senior from Arena, Wisconsin, another former walk-on with the sack.
Usselman right here in the middle of your screen. He's a change-up type rusher. Because he's a defensive end by trade, they can move him in when they're in their dime or nickel packages. And he's got the quick moves. He was blocked early, but his motor never stopped. Navarre just never had a chance to throw it, Sean, because of the great coverage down the field that you mentioned.
6.5 left third quarter. Norm Parker's defense stymieing this Michigan attack. Their only score was on a block punt for a touchdown. Navarre on 3rd and 15, going deep, up for grabs. Caught! Tyrese Butler tackled at the 3-yard line. His first career reception. And it was Igiazi, the stand-in for Stockdale, who looked like he was in perfect position, but he stopped. The ball went over his head, and Butler, the sophomore from Indianapolis, with a 77-yard gain on his first career catch.
These are the things that you need to learn as a freshman. Sean, you're right. Igiazi was in perfect position to make a play on that ball. For some reason, stopped running with the wide receiver, and all had to clean it up. And I'm sure Igiazi's coming off because now you're down on the goal line. But Norm Parker, that'll be the first man that he grabs to talk to.
They certainly missed Stockdale on that play. Perry, touchdown, Michigan. First touchdown of the season for Chris Perry. The 6th of his career, and the Wolverines are within 7 with the extra point to come.
Stan Parrish talking about John Navarre. Big guy with a really good arm. He's got the arm to make every throw in their offense, and that time found Igiazi sleeping a little bit back there, made a very, very nice throw.
The extra point good from Hayden Epstein. Big plays here in the third quarter. The latest by Michigan to set up the touchdown run by the sophomore Perry. It's been an up-and-down day for this sellout crowd of more than 70,000. The Hawkeyes have seen their lead trimmed to 20-14. Tyrese Butler with a 77-yard reception. His first catch of his career. kick off. Khalil Hill and Fred Russell back deep. This is Russell, the true freshman. He's from Inkster, Michigan, near Detroit, near the Detroit airport. Marlon Jackson made the coverage on Russell. He played at Romulus High School in Michigan and then went on to Milford Academy in Connecticut.
Did you say he was from near the airport?
Yes.
He can really fly.
Wish I had now.
So do I.
And they're booing McCann again.
You know, Sean, listen, this guy has earned the right to be the starter here. He's the efficiency leader in the Big Ten. He's had one bad game against Michigan, has played fairly well today. They need to lighten up.
McCann steps up, runs. There's a flag down in the offensive backfield. McCann ran for 9 out to the 39. Steve Payman, the referee, threw the flag for holding against Iowa. The 4th penalty against the Hawkeyes. Michigan has been penalized twice.
McCann's more elusive than people give him credit for, too.
Offense, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, first down.
Of course, he's not as active as Banks is, but he can get out of trouble and move around. That time did a nice job. Of course, he was aided by the hold, but he's more athletic than you would think, being a tall, skinny guy like he is.
He's a terrific basketball player in high school. Averaged 30 points per game as a senior in high school and actually walked on the Iowa basketball team here after true freshman football season. Out of the flat, it's Khalil Hill trying to make a one-on-one move, but he couldn't get away from Cato June, the junior from Washington, D.C. Well, we've certainly given you ample time to answer the Aflac trivia question, which was posed in the first half. On October 19th of '85, these two teams were number 1 and 2. Iowa won the ball game 12-10 on a last-second field goal. Who were the quarterbacks?
Chuck Long, Harbaugh.
All right, let's see. Well, you cheated.
No, I didn't. I knew Chuck Long, but Harbaugh was a guess. And I cheated.
Second and 18. McCann throws. Nice catch on a high throw. C.J. Jones out to the 33-yard line. Todd Howard the tackle. It'll be 3rd down and 7.
Trying to get anything back you can. Good job by the offensive line. This offensive line for Iowa, Kirk Ferentz said, was a lot like our defensive line last year, where we knew we had the guys to do it, but we just had to get them playing together. This is the 3rd game that they've been together, and Kyle McCann says it's really been fun to see them gel.
There is Terrence. As we mentioned earlier, been every game but one over his career. Dane and Steve. Big 3rd down. McCann throws, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Marlon Jackson, the true freshman, with his 3rd interception of the season. That leads the team. He was looking for Khalil Hill. Michigan takes over 1st and 10 in Iowa territory near the 35-yard line.
And that's just a fantastic job by a true freshman, Marlon Jackson. What they've done all year long with their cornerbacks, they have 3 guys that rotate in there as they make them compete during the week, and Marlon Jackson has really stepped up in the last couple weeks. A great read on the ball by him.
Navarre, touchdown would give them the lead. He's going for the end zone for Walker, batted down. Benny Sapp with a fine defensive play.
Fine defensive play by Benny Sapp, but Sean, Navarre just hasn't looked completely sharp today. It looked like Walker had position. If this ball is thrown more in front of him, he doesn't have to slow down. Sapp can't make that play. If the ball is thrown leading Marquise Walker, that's probably another touchdown for Michigan.
Michigan has not led in the game. Movement along the Michigan offensive line. Looked like Tony Pape, number 77.
False start offense. 5-yard penalty. It's still 2nd down.
Now you get to a point of Stan Parrish where you have to think, get half of it back so you can get into a third and short. No need to go for anything big. You have to get something that gets you into a third and under 6 yards so you have a makeable third down.
The wide receivers, they throw it out in a flat, and it's almost intercepted by Grant Steen. He saw that coming, got an arm up to knock the pass down. It stayed in the air, and he almost picked it off, intended for Ronald Bellamy.
You know, this is the second time today, Sean, that Steen has made an incredible play on this exact same play. Seymour, the tight end, goes and tries to block Steen. The ball's thrown behind the line of scrimmage. So in college, right there, 81 can block downfield. But Steen, an excellent job reading the flanker screen coming inside.
Navarre on third down and 15. Throws, and it is caught by Walker for a first down for Michigan at the 21-yard line.
What a great job by Marquise Walker. As he comes out of his break, he gets pushed by Fred Barr, almost goes down, uses great balance to get his body back in there to make that catch.
Gain of 18 on third and 15. 3 catches for 42 yards now for Walker. Chris Perry, the lone back, on the draw on first and 10. And he's driven back. No gain on the play. Joe Usselman and Roger Meyer, Bob Sanders also in on the stop. One other side angle to this game. Lloyd Carr, the Michigan head coach, and Norm Parker, the Iowa defensive coordinator, are very good friends and have been for a long time, dating back to their days on Gary Moeller's staff at Illinois in the 70s. And they still communicate regularly. Navarre hands it off to Calvin Bell. He's run down by Fred Barr. Short gain on the play. Norm Parker told us a touching story yesterday. He has a Down syndrome son, 31 years old, Jeff, who works in the Iowa equipment room and is loved by everybody in this Iowa program. And Jeff's known Lloyd Carr since he was a young boy back in those days at Illinois. This was before the game today. And we'll finish the story in a moment. But first, the third down play. Timeout called.
Michigan, it's their first.
When we chatted with Norm Parker yesterday, he told us the story about when they were at Illinois. They went to play a bowl game. They were coaching against Larry Smith, the Sun Bowl, and on the field before the game, Norm had his son Jeff on the field with him. Larry Smith came over to say hello and talked to Jeff, and he said to Jeff, Jeff, who's your favorite football coach? Who's the best coach you know? Of course, Larry thought he was going to say my dad, and Jeff looked at Coach Smith and said, Lloyd Carr.
Smart man. Lloyd Carr, as the head coach, has a national championship. He knew who to pick.
You didn't know that you didn't have that then.
No.
But that's how much young Mr. Parker likes Lloyd Carr. And Lloyd Carr told a story about after a loss in the Rose Bowl, and the last year, Bo Schembechler, he was very distraught, called his friend Norm Parker late at night just to commiserate with an old coaching buddy. And after they talked, Lloyd said, let me speak with your son. And he did. And after he gave the phone back to Norm, Lloyd said, I feel a lot better now that I've talked with Jeff. And there he is, watching his dad coordinate this Iowa defense.
Now, Lloyd Carr might be his favorite coach, but there's no question where his loyalties lie.
Third down, Michigan. Interesting formation, a tight formation, and it's Askew comes out of it with the ball and a first down. Well, the Iowa players told us yesterday you have to watch out for a lot of tricks when you play Michigan, and here's one out of a tight formation on third down and 8.
The whole key is right there. Looked like it was Perry who took the snap and handed under the legs of B.J. Askew. Very difficult when the defense sees everybody going in that one direction. You have no idea where the ball is to try to find that.
First and goal, Michigan. A 14-yard gain for Askew. Askew into the middle and down at the 5-yard line as we go under a minute and a half left in the third quarter. Uselman and Meyer made a tackle. Time for the Pacific Life game summary. Big plays in this game, a couple of them on special teams. Maintaining at his punt blocked in the end zone. Roy Manning recovered for the first Michigan touchdown. They made it 10-7 at the half. But a punt return for a touchdown to the third quarter by Iowa, then a 77-yard pass Navarre to Tyrese Butler that set up a Michigan score. Now Michigan threatening to take the lead for the first time today. Navarre throws. Incomplete. Dropped in the end zone by Walker. He had it in his hands and it just bounced out for an incompletion with 44 seconds left in the third quarter.
Here comes Marquise Walker in motion. They flood the zone over there. They get Navarre out on the edge. So difficult to score from first and goal from the 7. Now second and goal from the 6. But what a fantastic play by Bob Sanders. Gets over late. That was a touchdown until Sanders got his left hand in there and raked the ball away from Walker.
Third down and goal. Play clock at 5. Play clock at 1 as they snap it. Navarre, all kinds of time to the end zone. What a catch! Touchdown, Walker! Making up for the drop in acrobatic fashion.
Well, Sean, Norm Parker can coach his defense all he wants. He's got double coverage inside and out with Sapp and Sanders. But when people have athletic ability like that, it doesn't matter how well your guys are coached. What a sensational play by Marquise Walker.
And the extra point up and good from Hayden Epstein. And for the first time today, Michigan has the lead. With 38 seconds left in the third quarter. Walker's 7th touchdown reception of the year. Let's get an update now from Times Square Stadium. Here's John Saunders.
Sean, it's turning into quite an offensive display between Maryland and Florida State. Greg Jones goes in from 5 yards out, a tough run, and then dives and spins into the end zone to give Florida State the lead at 31-24, but Maryland is threatening inside the 5.
Here it's Michigan by 1. John Navarre has thrown at least one touchdown pass in every game this season now. He came into today's game having thrown for at least 200 yards in every game this year except one, 187 in their win against Illinois. He's thrown for 184 yards today.
Finally got something going, Sean, when they were able to throw the ball downfield. The big throw to Tyrese Butler seemed to get him back into a rhythm that was missing for basically the first 3 quarters of this ball game.
And will Kirk Ferentz stick with Kyle McCann when Iowa goes on offense? And have moved the ball on a couple of possessions with Brad Banks. They've been a little more stagnant offensively with McCann at quarterback. Fred Russell. The freshman runs it back to the 26.
Things got near Halloween, little trickery. All the offensive linemen standing up. The defense cannot see where the ball is, and there it comes over to the left. It was handed under the legs by B.J. Askew. A play very similar to what Tommy Bowden ran down at Clemson earlier this year. And then just athletic ability, Sean. You cannot overcome this if you're a defense, even when you're in great position like Iowa was there. Doesn't matter when you have a player like Marquise Walker.
Well, the fans have received their wish. Brad Banks, the quarterback. Play action, pass, and it's batted down by Larry Foote.
Trying to get Dallas Clark, who had a shoulder stinger earlier in the game, back into the offense. He's so effective. And they run that little play action to the left, and he runs and drags right in front of the quarterback. That time, Banks not able to get the ball over the defensive end.
Banks led them on a touchdown drive, and with a short field, led them to a field goal. They took possession at their 34-yard line of Michigan, and they kicked the field goal with Banks at the helm in the first half. Second and 10. And the flag thrown. A lot of movement along the line of scrimmage.
Thrown when Dallas Clark went back into motion. Maybe an illegal procedure by Iowa.
When the tight end shifted to the other side, he lined up inside the wideout who was on the line, which restricts him by position. Prior to the snap, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty, it's still second down.
What happened was Dallas Clark became an ineligible receiver, so he cannot go in motion again. It's like an offensive lineman coming up and going in motion.
11-down career of Kyle McCann continues. Hooked in the final minute of the third quarter. To Brad Banks. Second and 15. Banks throws, caught. Khalil Hill out of bounds, short of the first down. At the 34-yard line, we saw that strong arm from Banks in the first half, and he threw a bullet on the run there. Charles Drake pushed Hill out of bounds.
He's got that effortless motion, too. It doesn't look like it takes him a lot. He doesn't have a big, long arm motion. It's that little wrist flick. I have to wonder who was the quarterback when he was a freshman in junior college that he had to play wide receiver, because he has a special arm at quarterback.
He's the cousin of their wide receiver C.J. Jones, who scored Iowa's touchdown on the punt return. Third down and 2. Banks could run for the first down. Oh, he ran out short of the marker. It looked from here that he ran out short of the marker when he had a chance to put his head down and run for the first down. And Coach Ferentz, we talked about how Banks perhaps has the better arm and mobility, but they think McCann's a little better in decision-making. I mean, why does he peel off for the sideline?
He's in. He's got a seam. He's in there because he can run with the ball. A very poor decision.
An 8-Kading punt. Marquise Walker, a fair catch. With 4 seconds left in the third quarter, a 44-yard punt. Momentum on the side of the Wolverines, and they have the ball back with a 1-point lead.
Well, Sean, that's a head-scratcher why Banks would have stepped out of bounds. I mean, he is in there because he's the more athletic quarterback. Ferentz just looked amazed that his quarterback didn't tuck that up and pick up the first down.
I think everyone was amazed when all of a sudden he just started running sideways when he needed about 3 more yards straight ahead to get the first down. Likely the final play of the third quarter. Askew. Tackled by Sanders and Barr. And that is the end of the third quarter. Michigan has a 1-point lead at Iowa. ABC Sports presentation of college football will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Points in the third quarter. Michigan has a 1-point lead as we begin the fourth. Wolverines ball, second and 10. At their own 23-yard line. Navarre is a man open. Flag thrown. 2 flags down. Ball down. Bell down. Iowa ball. But there are 2 flags down. Calvin Bell caught it, then fumbled. Grant Steen recovered the fumble. Bob Sanders delivered the hit that knocked it out. And there were 2 flags thrown at the line of scrimmage.
Holding, offense, penalties declined, first down.
What a great job today by Iowa on defense. They have been so sound, even when things have started going right. Great job by the official to realize that ball was knocked out by Igiasi. The guy who was burnt for the 77-yard pass earlier got his left hand in there and knocked the ball out of the hand of Calvin Bell.
And Bob Sanders is still down on the play. Bob Sanders a moment ago walked off the field, favoring his right arm. Iowa ball. Kyle McCann back at quarterback. From the Michigan 35, Betts. Nowhere. Back to the line of scrimmage, and that's all. Victor Hobson made the tackle. Well, it's been a revolving door at quarterback today for Iowa. An up and down day for McCann, 8 out of 13. 82 yards, Banks 5 out of 8.
But the whole reason they had Banks in to begin with, because of the ability he has to get out on the edge and run with the ball on the boot. In that last series, when he mysteriously slowed down and went sideways instead of diving forward for the first down, obviously put McCann back in the game.
Well, the tight end, Clark, flinched again. And Iowa's penalized.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty, it's still second down.
And obviously here, any loss of yardage hurts because they were in borderline field goal range for Kading, which would give them the lead.
Talk about things that drive coaches crazy. You get a turnover, you feel like you might have some momentum, and then someone goes out and flinches in their stance. And Kirk Ferentz, very businesslike. That's the one thing his players talk about, is how much they are required to do every little thing right.
Michigan showing blitz. McCann throws a very short gain to the tight end Clark. Forward progress to the 37-yard line. Eric Brackens drove him back. Once again, here's John Saunders at Times Square Stadium.
Sean, UCLA was down to Stanford 31-7, but they're fighting their way back. Corey Paws out with a hand injury. Scott McEwen, 23 yards to Mike Seidman for the touchdown. And suddenly the Bruins now, with almost a full quarter to work with, down by just 10, looking to remain unbeaten.
A topsy-turvy day in the top 10. Virginia Tech already upset. Michigan trying to avoid the upset. McCann on 3rd and long. Flush for the pocket. Dumps it off. Allen, a lot of room up the sideline. First down inside the 10. Out of bounds near the 8-yard line. 30 yards on the gain on 3rd down and 13.
And this is a play precisely why Kyle McCann is in the game. He gets flush from the pocket. He knows that his receivers have everybody run off on that side of the field. And although he has to dump it off, Allen's such a good athlete with that much room, able to pick up the first down. A great decision by Kyle McCann.
Wells Drake pushed Allen out of bounds. 1st and goal, Iowa. 13 minutes left. Michigan leads by 1. Betts up the middle. Still driving. Touchdown!
Kading didn't run on the field, the kicker, but they pulled him back off, Sean. They have to go for 2 here.
Well, it's not a definite at this point in the ball game, but they're going to try to go for 2 and get a 7-point lead.
Boy, you got to feel for Drake. You've got a 240-pound fullback blowing you up, and you have a 215-pound running back behind him. He didn't have a chance. That was just, what they say, we're going to have a Big Ten game here? That's Big Ten.
They're going for 2 to try to go ahead by 7. They lead by 5 right now, 26-21. McCann with a lot of time. Throws. Flag now. Pass interference. They were all over Dallas Clark, who still nearly caught the ball. It was Cato June, who was practically sharing Clark's number 44. So Iowa will get another crack at the 2-point conversion.
It's tough duty for your free safety, although he's a big free safety.
Pass interference, defense. The ball be placed at the 1.5-yard line. Replay the try.
a two-point try from the 3, you're pretty much limited to throwing or some kind of draw. Now, Iowa can try anything they want with a 1.5 yards, and with the way Liddell Betts has been running with Jeremy Allen, you can even try something between the tackles.
Betts back in there. 3 wide receivers. Blitz, Betts, lunges, didn't get it. Well, they want to get a 7-point lead. Of course, the reverse of that now is they're in a situation where 2 field goals could give Michigan the victory. Cato June and Charles Drake combined to stop Betts on the 2-point try. 26-21 Iowa in the 4th quarter.
A little bit of a spread formation, Sean. Kyle McCain just needed the count. You only have 1, 2 blockers and 1, 2, 3 defenders. There's no way that this play was going to be successful. Michigan gambled. It was a spread, 3 wide receiver set, 1 back in the backfield. But McCann needed to get out of that play. That was a dead play before the snap.
Kading will kick off. Iowa in this back and forth game leads by 5. And it's Howard. Picked up. Ball's on the ground. Michigan got it back. Looks like Carl Diggs recovered the fumble. ABC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by Chevy. The cars you can depend on, the cars that last will be there. By Discover Card for the slightly smarter consumer. By Chili's baby back ribs, plain grilled and double basted with barbecue sauce. And by Budweiser, who salutes America's designated drivers.
This is where a home crowd can really help Norm Parker's defense, Sean. This is the first time in this ball game where they can really have an impact.
John Navarre, just 13 out of 30 passing. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, going deep for Walker. Broken up. Benny Sapp, one-on-one with Walker. And the true sophomore made the defensive play.
Benny Sapp having a fantastic afternoon, had an interception down. Plays this, again, a little bit high and a little bit late by Navarre, but gives Sapp tons of credit. He's had tough duty. He's been lined up one-on-one all day against Marquise Walker. He's done a fantastic job.
Another injury. Shane Hall, the safety, came off holding his hip, and Chris Smith has come in at safety, number 20. He's been a starter in the past, but bothered lately by a sore knee. A lot of injuries on this defense for Iowa, but they're hanging in there. Askew banged out of bounds by Aaron Campman, the senior from Hesley, Iowa. We spoke with Aaron yesterday, and he told us that Hesley, Iowa is a town of 80 people in northeast Iowa. His dad, Bob, owns a lumber yard. His mom's a nurse. He has 2 brothers. He's the middle of the 3. So when he was a little kid, as soon as he could ride a bike, they used to ride into town to help their dad on the lumber yard. One of the reasons he's the size he is. Navarre deep drop. 3rd down and 8. Going deep and just too deep. Looking for Tyrese Butler. Aramis Harrelson, the reserve defensive back, had the coverage. They're giving him a shot now in Stockdale's stead after some problems of Igiazzi earlier.
Had the coverage beat deep, did Tyrese Butler, and Navarre just a little too much air under the ball.
Epstein just got the punt off with Pagel coming after him. Khalil Hill. Nifty return to the 38-yard line. 50-yard punt, 12-yard return. Iowa leading by 5 with the ball. 12:18 remaining. At the conclusion of today's game, we'll select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund.
How about we give it coach of the game, Norm Parker? defensive coordinator for Iowa. He's got guys that are third and fourth string out there doing everything they can against a very explosive, talented Michigan offense.
Three wide receivers. Liddell Betts, the lone back. And they hand it to him, and Larry Foote stopped him for a loss. Back to the 35-yard line. It's Kyle McCann at quarterback, and it's Leslie Goodell down the sideline. Leslie.
Well, after Michigan scored their last touchdown, a lot of angry Iowa players on the sidelines, but Kirk Ferentz and his staff came over, were a very calming influence, said, guys, we can win this one in the fourth quarter. Sure enough, they're responding.
Injured player for Michigan, Jake Freisinger, down on his knees.
You were talking about last year, how those last 4 ball games for Kirk Ferentz's team, why that was where he felt like things started to turn around. He said, we were only 2-2. It's nothing to write home about. But we were in every ball game through the fourth quarter, and they had not done that here at Iowa. So now they're starting to get a little confidence. Iowa is, when they get into the fourth quarter against Big Ten teams, that they can compete till the very end.
The tackle for Larry Foote, his 13th of the game, his 4th tackle for a loss. He now leads the nation with 18 tackles. Freisinger's had injury problems, played in only 1 game last year due to an injured right foot, a broken bone in his foot, the same bone he had broken in a pickup basketball game the previous winter. Both times he required surgery on his foot.
This group's so good up front. Michigan, back in the mid-90s, switched from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3. Jim Herman, who started as a GA, the defensive coordinator, back in 86 and 87. And then he volunteered in 88 and 89, but Herman's been around, switched him to a 4-man front. They have such good depth up front.
He certainly is a Michigan man. Freisinger off the field. It'll be 2nd and 14. Clock running, 11:45 remaining in the fourth quarter. If time permits, stay tuned for the Thrifty Car Rental postgame report featuring scores and highlights from across the country with John Saunders and Terry Bowden. In Dodge in motion. McCann under pressure, steps up nicely, throws deep. It's up for grabs, and it is a battle won by Cato June. Looking for blockers. At his own 40. And out of bounds at the 49-yard line. McCann threw a duck. And Dodge almost ripped it away from June. A 31-yard return for June after his 2nd interception of the year.
McCann, knowing that Dodge has the speed, Sean, but this ball floated, had good coverage by the safety. That was not a good throw by McCann, not a good decision, not a good release on the ball, and Dodge does everything he can to get it away, and a nice return by June.
Dodge tried, but June won the battle. Navarre throws incomplete. Intended for Walker. Sapp had the coverage, and clearly they're trying to take advantage of Walker one-on-one with Sapp, but the sophomore Sapp is hanging in there head-to-head with one of the best wide receivers in the nation, if not the best.
You go back to the progress that Iowa has made. Sapp was one of 7 true freshmen who had to play last year. You can see where that experience, where he goes out now against a guy like Marquise Walker. You mentioned how confident he is, but now he has to start to believe that he can play against guys like that.
2nd and 10. Navarre wanting to throw again. The pump fake in the direction of Walker. Now he lost it up for Walker. Oh, he's taken down by Sapp. The safety, Chris Smith, came over to help. It'll likely be pass interference against Sapp and a 15-yard walk-off, which will move him to the Iowa 35.
And if you're Benny Sapp, you have to do this. Do not let Marquise Walker make the catch. That would have been a 32-yard gain instead of a 15-yard penalty.
First and 10, Michigan. At the Iowa 35, relying heavily on the passing attack. Lloyd Carr says, I want to be a better running football team, but that really has not happened today. 7th penalty against Iowa. Back to the ground with Askew. Very little, and he got punished after a 1-yard gain. Grant Steen and Fred Barr. Steen's had a big day. He's another son of a coach. His dad, Tom, was his defensive coordinator at Emmitsburg High School, the E-Hawks. He's missed only 2 of Grant's games at Iowa last season, games at Penn State and Minnesota, because Emmitsburg was on its way to the state Class 2A championship. Navarre on 2nd down. E.J. Askew dropped it in the flat. One man who never drops a handoff or a pass is John Saunders. Take it away, John.
As long as it's a puck and not a football. Florida State trying to add to their lead. Chris Ricks rolls out and tosses it to the end zone. 22 yards to Javon Walker. And Florida State trying to salt this one away. Turnovers have been the story against Maryland thus far. Sean.
Maryland, the only undefeated team in ACC play. That's in jeopardy. Michigan, the only undefeated team in Big Ten play. That's in jeopardy, but they're on the move on the pass to Walker. First down to the 21-yard line. Chigozie Igiazi made the tackle, but it's a gain of 13, and boy, they miss Matt Stockdale in that secondary for Iowa.
And now you have to, even though Benny Sapp has done such a nice job of covering Marquise Walker today, you have to start moving a safety over there, because that's where John Navarre, obviously, his comfort level has been. Tends to get locked in a little bit here in the second half. If I'm a safety, Bob Sanders back in the game, I'm going to start reading his eyes, try to come underneath one of those.
6 catches now for Walker, 5 of them here in the second half. Askew to the 19. Gang tackled again. Roger Meyer at the bottom of the pile. The safety, Chris Smith, came up to help finish him off. And the primary hit by Fred Barr.
You know, Sean, we were talking about how well this Iowa team tackles. And all the coaches talk about those last 4 ball games of last year. Well, that's when Bob Sanders, their strong safety, was inserted as a starter. He tackles everything, loves to play, loves to practice, and he brought everybody's level of play up when he was inserted last year with 4 games to go.
Navarre hands off to Askew, hands off to Bell on the reverse. They love that play with Calvin Bell. He's down to the 13. Roger Meyer tackled him. It'll be 3rd down and short, 3rd and 2.
John Navarre trying to get downfield and throw a block. Actually does get a nice little block, and then gets his teammate land on his helmet for his effort.
Navarre to throw on 3rd and 2, and the traffic caught. Touchdown, Michigan, Sean Thompson. And now Michigan will likely go for 2 to take a 3-point lead. A 13-yard touchdown reception by Thompson. Just his 3rd catch of the year and his 1st touchdown.
And boy, Bob Sanders was just 1 step late. Fred Barr trailing in coverage on Sean Thompson, and Sanders that time read where Navarre was going to go with the ball, and Navarre gets one there on time on a rope. Sanders can't make the play.
Thompson, a senior from Saginaw, Michigan, selected a co-captain by his teammates. Injured in the season opener last year against Bowling Green, missed the rest of the year. After knee surgery, he'll long be remembered in Michigan for the game-winning touchdown reception from Tom Brady in overtime as they beat Alabama in the Orange Bowl. Walker's wide open. How you can lose that man, I don't know, but Iowa did. The 2-point conversion for Michigan and a 3-point lead with 8:34 remaining. Back and forth they go. Michigan by 3. 8:34 left in Iowa City. Hayden Van Epstein to kick off. Michigan leads by 3, 8.5 minutes left. Couple yards deep in the end zone, Fred Russell. Flag thrown, 2 flags thrown. Michigan with the special teams tackle from Phil Bracken, the brother of the linebacker Eric Bracken. Ball down to the 26. But what is the penalty? 2 officials threw flags. Apparently they both saw the same hold. So Iowa down by 3 is going to have a long field to traverse. And the fans boo as McCann comes back in. After the interception, a 50-yard scoring drive, and Sean Thompson scored the go-ahead touchdown, the try for 2. Successful on the completion, the walk.
He has been John Navarre for Michigan. Sean, you mentioned how they wanted to start running the ball, but Navarre finally found his stride here in the 4th quarter. More comfortable in the pocket.
McCann hit as he throws. It's an incomplete pass. Hit by Shante Orr.
We talked about Iowa stunting. This time Orr comes all the way around. He was lined up on the tackle, and a great shot on McCann as he starts to move that arm forward, very close to being a fumble, but the arm was definitely moving forward.
2nd and 10. McCann, 10 out of 17 passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, thrown for 115 yards. Bet couldn't get outside, gets to the 11. Eric Bracken's made the tackle. And you sense the uneasiness in the crowd.
Deep in their own territory, Iowa deciding to go conservative, but the Iowa fans, obviously they want a different quarterback in Banks, but they want this offense to be opened up a little more. And now you have to. At 3rd and 9, you put yourself in a position where you have no choice but to open it up.
Last win for Iowa over a top 10 team was in 1996. They beat Penn State, then ranked number 10, 21-20. And quarterback Matt Sherman over the middle, incomplete. Intended for Chris Oliver and Larry Foote. Gave Oliver a pretty good stick after the ball clanged off his hands.
Foote doing a very nice job dropping into coverage. Read it the whole way. He was running with Dallas Clark. That's what McCann saw. He saw him dropping into coverage, chasing Dallas Clark, but he was in his zone. Misread that.
Hating a short line drive kick. He gets the roll. And it is downed at the 44-yard line by Bob Sanders, a 46-yard punt and no return. Time now for our Pacific Life game summary. And here in the second half, Ed, Marquise Walker has been the man for Michigan.
They had to start moving the ball around through the air because they have had no luck on the ground against Iowa, and there was the 2-point conversion to get to a 3-point lead by Marquise Walker.
6 catches, 61 yards for Walker, a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. He started on the ground with Askew. The clock runs down near 7 minutes remaining. Colin Cole made the tackle. And B.J. Askew, just 34 career carries in 2 years prior to this year, playing behind Anthony Thomas, who's gone on to the NFL with the Bears as a 2nd-round draft pick and has made an immediate impact. B.J. wants to be a TV broadcaster when he's finished with his football career, so look out, Ed. We're probably out of a job once the junior from Cincinnati's ready to go.
I think he should give the NFL a shot first before he tries to boot us out of our jobs.
They'll stay on the ground. Askew to midfield. They send him back, and we send it back to John Saunders at Times Square Stadium.
UCLA trying to mount one of the great comebacks of the year. They trailed 31-7 in this game. Sean McEwen, backup quarterback, in 25 yards to Brian Fletcher. And oh, by the way, UCLA has just picked off and has the ball with over 4 minutes remaining, down just 3.
All right, John, it's never over when you play Stanford. They score a lot, but they give up a lot. Big third down here with 6 minutes to go. Navarre throws, and it is caught. Marquise Walker again along the far sideline. First down, Michigan at the 39-yard line of Iowa.
I don't know that you can have Benny Sapp do any more than he is. He's fighting for everything. He's got good coverage. Navarre has to feed it to the outside. Just a great throw and catch. Sapp in position to make the play. Wonderful hands. We've already seen the one-handed catch for a touchdown, but John Navarre, Sean, in this fourth quarter has really found his rhythm. He's delivering the ball very well.
And back to the ground. Askew got it inside and was tripped up by Bob Sanders. Sanders, who had the 25 tackles last week, was not highly recruited out of Erie, Pennsylvania. Iowa was aware of him because Joe Moore, the former line coach at Notre Dame, saw Sanders play in Erie. Joe Moore's son coaches in the Erie area. Joe Moore is like a surrogate father to Kirk Ferentz. He called up Coach Ferentz and said, hey, there's this kid here, Bob Sanders. I don't know if he'll play on your defense, but at least he'll make your special teams better. You ought to take a look at him. They have, and now he's their best defensive player as a sophomore. No running room for Askew. It'll be third down, and the clock now a factor, running under 4:40. Remaining here in the fourth quarter, Michigan leading by 3.
And Michigan has gotten to a point where they're very comfortable trying to run some time off of this clock, Sean. They haven't had much success running the ball, but this run pass may catch up with them, give Iowa the ball back before they can get the ball down any further, maybe get a field goal.
There's 70 yards rushing today. They've had a tough time getting it going, as we mentioned Lloyd Carr when we talked to him about what would you like to see your team improve in. He said, I'd like to be a better running team. Third down and 5. Navarre rolls away from the receivers out to the left, throws it up for grabs, incomplete. He had to get rid of it with Colin Cole about to lower the boom. And there wasn't a Michigan receiver anywhere near that, and what will Lloyd Carr do? On the 34-yard line, leading by 3 with 4th down and 5 and 4:02 left.
Looks like he's got some special teamers gathered around him, Sean, to make this decision, whether to try a pooch punt or a long field goal. Hayden Epstein with a great leg. He has the career long kick at Michigan. He's got plenty of leg for this kick.
Career long of 56 in 1999 at Michigan State. That shares the school record. This is a 51-yard try. It is long enough. It is good from 51 with room to spare. Hayden Epstein gives Michigan a 6-point lead. 3:57 remaining in the fourth quarter at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. Sean McDonough, Ed Cunningham, Leslie Goodell back in Iowa City. Hawkeye fans hoping to see an upset. And a victory that might demonstrate to folks around the country that the Hawkeye program is back. It's been a battle all day for Lloyd Carr and the Wolverines. They lead by 6 as they kick off with 3:57 left. Epstein, who just drilled a 51-yard field goal, kicks off in the end zone. Fred Russell, the freshman. Across the 25, flag down. They're killing themselves with penalties on kickoff returns. They started in the hole in the last possession. They will again on this possession. And who will the quarterback be? Looks like McCann. And you know the fans are going to boo when he comes on, and it really just seems to be a deflating experience.
Holding on the return. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
You and I were talking at the break who we thought we would go in. We thought we might see Banks, but you're right, Sean. I mean, at some point, these fans just need to go with the decision their team is in this ball game, a ball game that a lot of people didn't think they would be, and just support the guy that Coach Ferentz is sending out there.
They started their own 10-yard line. They have 2 timeouts left. This juncture with 3:45 left, the field goal really does them no good. They're thinking about the 90 yards to take the lead with an extra point. McCann throws, man open, caught, first down, Chris Oliver. Out to the 22-yard line.
Now for Iowa, there doesn't need to be any kind of hurry up. You don't want to burn a lot of time. They still have 2 timeouts left, but if you're Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator for Michigan, Sean, remember earlier in the game when he started changing things up with a little bit of blitz. He's got a very good defensive line, but I would keep McCann honest. I would not let him sit back there and read zone the entire time and play too far off.
3 wide receivers. Through to the left is McCann. First and 10 from their own 22. He has time. Pulls it down. Runs toward the sideline, out of bounds after a gain of 2. He looks a little gun-shy sometimes, Ed. Throw it. When looks like he has men open. There's Banks looking on Monday Night Football, the Titans and the Steelers at 9 Eastern time. A big AFC Central showdown. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific here on ABC.
He's already thrown 2 interceptions on the day. The one was the really bad throw on his last one where he heaved it up there. And Ken O'Keefe, he gets him over to the sideline. He's just got to pull the string on it and let it go.
A little Hill comes in motion. For the most part, the Michigan defense has done a good job on him. McCann sings one. First down, C.J. Jones. Out to the 35. The clock stops to move the chains. It'll start again on the reset from 3:27 remaining. Larry Foote made the tackle. So Iowa's moved from its own 10 to the 35.
If for any other reason, Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, he's run a 4-3 cover 2 the last 3 plays in a row. If for any other reason, run something different, even if you only bring an extra guy, just so that the offensive coaches from Iowa can't get into a pattern on what to call every time.
Here comes the blitz. McCann gets away, throws it away. Good job by McCann. Cato June came on a safety blitz, and it looked like he was going to sack McCann for a big loss. But Kyle got away from the tackle and then threw it away in the direction of C.J. Jones.
Sometimes the threat of a blitz is as good as a blitz, but they hadn't been showing any pressure, so Kyle McCann that time did not see Cato June, the free safety, coming from the backside. He was looking over to his 2-receiver side over to the right, and that time Jim Herman got tired of being in that cover 2, so I had to bring a little pressure just to change things up a bit.
They do have enough time with the timeouts. They don't have to throw on every down. They can utilize Betts or Allen, but they've thrown on every down so far. McCann over the middle. And C.J. Jones, a big tackle from behind by Todd Howard. About a yard short of the first down marker. If Jones got free, he had a lot more running room coming toward the near sideline.
C.J. Jones, because Khalil Hill is being double covered. You can see him over there on the left side of your screen. C.J. Jones has become the guy that Kyle McCann has had to check down to.
2 timeouts left for Iowa, also 2 for Michigan. With 4 out of 13 on third down. This is 3rd and 2 and likely 4-down territory given the situation. Looked like the offensive line moved and they stopped the play. Looked like the left guard, Eric Steinbach, moved ahead of the snap. You could hear the collective ooh from the fans. It wasn't hard to detect.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty, it's still 3rd down.
Kirk Ferentz talked about how they would have to play a flawless game to beat a team like Michigan, and they have been less than flawless today, Sean. They've had a bunch of penalties on kickoff returns and the block punt. 10th penalty for 75 yards. It's tough against a very good Michigan defense to overcome that.
10 penalties, 3 turnovers, and yet they're in the game down by 6 with 2:10 remaining. So that hurts. Instead of 3rd and 2, it's 3rd and 7. The clock's running down to 2 minutes left. There's McCann. Gave the signal. Here comes a blitz. McCann throws. Caught! First down. C.J. Jones at the Michigan 48. Todd Howard Ford went for the interception. Didn't get it. And if Jones could have found a way to stay in bounds, he was going to go a long way down that far sideline. 14 yards on 3rd and 7. First down, Iowa.
Fantastic job by the offensive line. Bruce Nelson, the center, his first year at center, comes over and picks up the late safety blitz. That's why you have the one-on-one coverage on the outside.
This drive started at the Iowa 10. They're at the Michigan 48. McCann, the quickie to C.J. Jones. Close to another first down. Larry Foote tackled him around the foot. Looks like they're a half yard short of the first down. The clock runs, 1:40 left, 2 timeouts.
When we were having the discussion about Banks or McCann in, you see now why Ken O'Keefe, the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, wants McCann in there. They are doing so many different things. This Michigan defense has tried 4 different blitzes. None of them are working because of the command of the offense.
Taking a lot of time to get the plays in. The play clock all the way down to 10. Down the seam and through the hands of Dallas Clark. Now you have to think about getting the first down. Maybe 2 plays in the huddle here. Ed, a running play on 3rd and 1. Try to pick up the first down, but be ready to go on the snap after they stop the clock to move the chains.
We used to do that when I was with the Arizona Cardinals, Sean, and to be honest with you, I just thought it was too much to think about. With 2 plays in there as an offensive lineman sometimes, especially with the blitzes that Jim Herman has been bringing, this offensive line is doing everything they can just to pick those guys up.
3rd and 1, I formation. 2 tight ends. Betts did not appear to get the first down at the 39-yard line. And the clock's running. They didn't get it. 4th down. And a timeout called by Iowa, leaving the Hawkeyes with 1. Larry Stevens made the big tackle on Betts.
Sean, in 4-down territory, I understand the most important thing is to get the first down. But you have to wonder if you might want to try a toss play. There was a bunch of white shirts in the middle of the field to defend that. Or maybe take a shot in the middle of the field with your tight end Dallas Clark off a play fake.
Well, it all comes down to this one play. 1:01 left. 4th and 1. For Iowa at the Michigan 39, Michigan leads 32-26.
The strength of this Michigan defense is their defensive line. We just saw that they couldn't pick up a yard there. If I'm Iowa, McCann is not that slow. Maybe get him to the outside, a run-pass option. I don't know that it would be a wise decision by Iowa to try to run something between the tackles.
Situation for Iowa. On 4th and 1, Allen and Betts in the eye, 2 tight ends. Play action pass, and he overthrew it. He was looking for Chris Oliver, who was running open, and McCann's pass was too long. It was a great fake to Betts. Barring a miracle now, Michigan is going to hang on and remain undefeated in Big Ten Conference play.
But it was a block by the fullback, Jeremy Allen, on Larry Foote. He went to cut Foote and completely missed. Larry Foote made a very nice adjustment on the cut block and got into the face of McCann. He had Oliver open, but because of that missed block on the outside, he had to throw it much sooner than he wanted to.
And you know, Coach Ferentz will be questioned about the call on 4th and 1, going for it all. And now Navarre will take a knee. And Iowa will use its remaining timeout, but that's the last time they can stop the clock. The executive producer of ABC Sports is Howard Katz. Coordinating producer Bob Goodrich. Producer Bruce Clark. Our director today, David Kiviat. Beth Tura, our technical director. The associate producer, Eric Posman. Associate Director Craig Bigelow, computer statistician Jason Heading, Graphics operator Lily Bess, production assistants Brian Robbins and Rick Cushman, our statistician Joe Sullivan, our spotter Chris Helen, and the director of production Bob Toms. Our thanks to all and the rest of our ABC Sports crew. Well, a valiant effort for Iowa. It's going to come up just short. And they'll fall to 4-3 on the season. And Lloyd Carr and the Wolverines will go to 6-1 overall, 4-0 in the Big Ten, and likely looking to move up from number 7 in the BCS with the loss of Virginia Tech. Navarre takes the snap, and Iowa can't stop it. Next week, as part of our regional coverage, the Big Ten ball game at 3:30 Eastern Time will be Michigan and Michigan State. So your Wolverines can see your team, your Wolverine fans in action. You can see them right here against the Spartans on ABC Sports. Chevrolet Players of the Game. In recognition of their efforts, Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. Larry Foote with 15 tackles. C.J. Jones with the punt return and 5 catches. Our players of the game. Michigan survives a major scare here in Iowa City. Once again, the final score, Michigan 32 and Iowa 26. ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com, keyword ABC Sports. Don't forget, Monday night, it's the Titans and the Steelers on Monday Night Football. Now for Leslie Goodell and Ed Cunningham, Sean McDonough saying so long from Iowa City, Iowa. This is ABC Sports, continuing the tradition of excellence.